are here. Apologies for the 10 minutes tardiness of our arrival. Hello, everyone. Today is Saturday, the 15th of January 2022. I am Mr. Brown, and I trust you are all very well today. On today's show, we will be discussing the movie Capricorn 1 from 1977. Straight after, we will do a little bit of the news this week. So a lot to get through today. So shall we get the guests out? I think we should. First up, he's the jester from Leicester. Watch out, War and Peace. He's writing a book, don't you know? It's the Star Wars novelist himself. Swap shop.
I'm on first.
Right, pal.
What's going on? Blimey.
You're right, pal.
I'm not too bad. Just getting over a rather sickly strain of COVID. But yeah, apart from that, whenever I cough, I'm just going to hit the mute button. So if I don't answer for about 5 minutes, I'm dying in the background, coughing. But I'll be back, right? So
you've had the coof then.
Yeah, it's only a mild strain of it, but you know, it's kept me off doing the things that I love doing, sadly. So I've not been able to get on your show for a little bit because of it. Didn't want anyone to catch it down the microphone, so I thought I'd just stay for a while. You know,
it's probably a good thing that you caught the Omicron variants as opposed to the first one. So
yeah, it's just like a cold. Can't complain that much. Really, to be honest with you, compared to what I've heard some people have had. But yeah, you know, getting a few movies in and stuff, like the movie
good man.
Cover today. So, you know, catching up on a few little bits and bobs here and there. Making the most of it.
Good to have you back, though. So, you know what my next question is, don't you?
No, absolutely no idea. But I reckon you should get whoever else is in the back room.
I think it would be an idea to get some guests on, wouldn't it? So, so she's the Princess of Xanadu, but she's the queen of this channel, all the way from the land that is called Texas Shire. It's Renier.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, Renier.
What's up, dudes? How's everybody doing?
Okay. Are you?
Yeah, you know, I've been under the weather recently, and today I actually feel semi-normal, even though I'm a little bit nasally, but yeah, better than I have in a little bit, so I'll take it.
Not the coof?
No, just the flu.
Which is probably worse than the coof, but other than that, you're all well, yes?
Yeah, doing all right.
And you know what my next question is, don't you?
Shall we get the next guest out? I say do it.
Do it. Okay, I've had to kind of rewrite this intro a little bit. Set your Jedi power wands to stunning and brave. Your Photoshop automation to full power. The number one ex Star Wars fan. North of the border, we have the wonderful, not Brian Young.
Hey, evening Brune, evening Swappers, evening Rennie.
All right, pal.
How are we all? All okay?
Pretty good. Did you like the? I altered your intro slightly. I added the word X. Did you like that?
Yes, it's kind of depressing, but again, the last 10 years I've been a Star Wars fan. I've been pretty depressing, to be quite honest.
Absolutely, agree.
I haven't seen it. I'm still pumped from the Boba Fett stream the other night, so I'm going to have to try and calm myself down for this one.
I will just say everybody should check that out. That was a channel highlight, that review. The chapter 3 of Boba Fett. Quite a good stream, but for all the wrong reasons. But other than that, Brian, you're well, yes?
I'm good. Thanks very much.
Okay, shall we get the next body out?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Here he is. The wise elder of the channel, the writer, the portal, the director, and paid up member of the Selfridges Appreciation Society. He is the great mega geek himself, Ian David Diaz. Hello.
Hello. Sorry. Hi. You
Are
guys
you
all right?
well? Yes.
Yeah, I'm all
are you
right.
well?
I'm all right. Yeah, no, I'm fine. Fine. Just raring to go. That's all. Am I the last one actually that you brought on?
Second.
No, it's one
there's
more, isn't
another.
there?
There's another body. Yes.
Okay, so I just have to say, let's bring on the next guest, shall we?
Yes. Well done. Thank you, Ian. And last, but by no means least, this is big, everybody. New to the channel. He's the most well-spoken man on YouTube on a Saturday night. It's the fantastic Lost Chord or Little Platoon podcast. Here he is.
Hello
Hello,
there.
sir.
How are
Hello
you?
there. I'm well. Hello, how are you?
I'm all right. Although I know I'm being picked last, which does put me in mind of football teams at school all over again. So thank you for that tremendous boost to my self-confidence. But otherwise, I'm all good.
Yes, I know how that feels, but on this channel, being brought in last is the honour of the week. So you are being honoured. So are you pumped? I always say, are you pumped for this? So yes.
Yes. No, I finished what I've watched. The film we're going to see today, I've watched twice now in the last 2 days, and I'm usually more pumped before I watch it than I am afterwards, which might be a prelude to my opinion on that film. But no, I'm very much looking forward to it. Thank you very much for having me on.
It is my pleasure. Shall we kind of just kind of get? We're going to do a little. As I said, we're going to do a little bit of the news this week. So shall we just get kind of straight into it with the news?
Sounds
okay.
good.
So,
Yay.
we'll try and fly through these as quickly as possible because it's usually the same rubbish every week. So this week, from Eternals news, Marvel Studios is starting to do the Oscar rounds and trying to get the Eternals nominated for Oscars. I've not seen this film.
I have.
I know you
and most
have.
others.
As other than you, Ian, has anybody else seen this film on the panel?
I was going through trying to catch up on all of them, and because I try and keep in touch with all the Marvel films, and I was going through the backlog that I haven't seen yet, and I knew the ones that I hadn't seen. I haven't seen Shang-Chi, and I hadn't seen the new Spider-Man film. I've seen that since. I completely forgot that Eternals existed as a film. It just completely slipped my mind. So if there is an Oscar for the most forgettable Marvel film, then definitely put it forward for that. But if there isn't, then I'm not sure it's really.
I will say, have you not?
It is truly awful. The film is truly awful. I'd just like to say that it really is awful. It doesn't make any sense. The script is competent at best. The direction's terrible. The photography is brilliant. The special effects are standard. It's just an awful film. In fact, I went with Keith, and he loves movies. He fell asleep halfway through it, and he never falls asleep halfway through a film. So, and it really is awful. The amount of woke stuff they put in this film is absolutely diabolical. My advice to everyone is don't watch this film. It is not worth your time at all. There you go.
I would just say to Lost Chord, have you not seen any of the new film, the new batch, the new phase of Marvel?
I have now. I was catching up on them because I went through a period where I tend to let them all come out and then I watch them all as close to back as possible. So there are a few of the new phase. I've seen all of the TV shows, and I've now seen most of the new phase of Marvel's films. The Eternals is still the only one I haven't seen because I just cannot bring myself to be excited by it. It just looks and sounds dull. Why would you look at, say, the way DC handled its cinematic universe and throwing as many characters as possible into one film with no introduction and say, yeah, we want to do that. That was so spectacularly successful. It didn't make a huge amount of sense from a strategic point of view, but I just can't bring myself to care about it. But I've seen the rest.
I've not watched any of the new phase of the Marvel films because I'm just not interested. I just think what they're kind of pushing and what I've seen with the TV series, just not for me. I would say this film is probably, Ian, would you say this would be more appropriate for the Razzies?
This film should really be. They probably shot this all on digital, so they really should take the actual masters they've got and burn it. That's what they should do. This film is so awful that it doesn't even need to. It doesn't deserve to exist at all. It really needs to be burnt and forgotten. It really is that bad. Absolutely awful. Waste of my time, which I'll never get back. Anyway, on that happy note, let's carry on, shall we?
Yeah, let's move on. Okay, so we're all very excited about that. Keanu Reeves, yes, donated. Apparently, he was paid around $12 million for his role in the new Matrix film.
Wow.
And as you can see there, he donated pretty much 3/4 of it to cancer research.
Well, at least some good came out of that film then.
Yeah. He's a nice guy, though. I mean, everybody that's met him says he's a really nice guy. Who would have thought that he, out of both of them, from Bill and Ted, he would be the one that actually moves forward? Because everybody thought he was right thicko, didn't he, when he started?
Yeah.
It's true. Everybody did think he was right thicko, but it turns out that he isn't that thick, is he? He's
got the right
clever
attitude, definitely, compared to everyone else in Hollywood. He's got his head screwed on. He's not up himself and completely aloof and part of the elite at all. He's a very grounded guy, and you've got to respect him a lot for that. You might not respect his acting, but everything else, yeah, you have to respect. I think he's still got a lot of respect for me from when he did a similar thing with one of the last Matrix movies. I think he gave like a load of the staff, a load of the crew, a massive chunk of his fee, which was amazing. Yeah, so it's not a stranger to doing things like this. So he'll always have my respect, Keanu Reeves.
Shane Nolan in the chat, I stand corrected. It was $20 million he got paid
for that piece of crap.
Who's seen the new Matrix film?
I reviewed the new Matrix film. It was honestly one of the most irritating, borderline offensive things I have ever had to sit through. Just utter garbage. I'm torn actually between you. Is it worth curing cancer to have to sit through that film again? And I'm honestly not so sure that the answer is yes. Unbelievable garbage, that film.
Wow. Wowza.
It just made basically what the film is saying, that everything that we saw in the past concerning the Matrix was just a computer game and was created by Keanu Reeves' character in the film. And it's just made a big mockery of what was done in the past, even though the last two were absolute shit. The first one was the best one. But yeah, that's what it was saying, really. And it's typical of all these remakes and reboots and stuff like that, where they try to trash what went before it, and just basically insult the audience. And that's what this one did. So there you go.
Shane Nolan in the chat. Hail, Shane. Yeah, I was going to say myself, Keanu Reeves had personal tragedy. He lost his wife and sister to cancer. So, yeah.
I now feel really bad about my joke.
Yeah.
Moving on. Okay, so...
that's all that matters, really.
Yeah. So, some good will come of The Matrix, whatever it's called. So, Keanu Reeves.
I just got reminded of Jack Nicholson's theme for the original Batman movie, which was like 80 million or something crazy.
And residuals.
And he also got some back end as well from the film and some money on the merchandise. So Jack,
crazy.
Yeah. So Jack Nicholson didn't really need to work after he finished that Batman movie at all. And he's still getting money to this day as well. He's still getting money.
Wow.
So from
80 million though, man. Back in '89, that's a lot of money, isn't it? Yeah.
I don't know if it was 80 million though, but it was a huge chunk of money. As I said, he's not a stupid man, Jack. He really isn't. So there you go.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we'll move on from good guy Keanu Reeves. This one's for you, Ian. Will you be attending London Comic Con?
Well, do you know what? Right, I always go every year, apart from the years that we had the coof, obviously, because it wasn't open. But I might just go just to see if the audience gets really rowdy when she comes on stage. Because I mean, this is the first time she's going to present herself to an open audience of fans of Doctor Who. So it's going to be interesting if they're allowed to say "boo" and "fuck off, you stupid cow" and all that stuff. Would they be allowed to?
That would be amazing. Can you record that?
Yeah, but I'm going to go there for my phone and see if that happens. But you know, if it doesn't happen, then maybe we're all living in a bubble about all this woke stuff. Because if there are more people there, and say the room is full and nobody shouts anything, then maybe we're all wrong. Who knows? But I doubt
minority.
it. Though.
Can you just imagine complete silence from the audience? No one even utters or coughs anything. It's just dead silent. She just walks on and sort of smiles and tries to make it the best of it, but it's just everyone's dead silent throughout the whole thing.
Will there actually be an audience there, though? I mean,
yes.
I'm coming from Doctor Who from the outside, but is there anybody left to attend besides really put upon low-paid journalists who are just covering it for trade magazines? Is there actually anyone going to turn up?
This is London Comic Con, so if this is live, then every year thousands of people come dressed as whatever to Comic Con, and they all line up and they all go in there and they have panels and stuff, and they all cheer and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting to see if they're going to be cheering for Jodie Whittaker.
You should cosplay as her doctor.
Yes, do it, Ian. Oh my God!
You know what? Do you know what? Right, the last time I was there, right, this is when Jodie was just about to start. There's an actual picture of me with all these fans dressed as the doctors. And I kid you not, there was this big fat guy with blonde curly hair dressed as Jodie Whittaker. I've got the picture. I will show it to you. Just as Jodie Whittaker. I could not believe it.
Was it Chibnall, was it?
No. Chibnall's got no curly hair. But if I could find a picture, I'll show. It's absolutely ridiculous. I laughed and they said, "Oh, come take a picture." All right, took a picture of them.
That was the transitioning doctor, that one.
It really was weird.
Lost Chord, are you a Doctor Who fan?
No, I mean I watched from Christopher Eccleston up to the end of David Tennant, and I think I switched off about episode 2 of Matt Smith's run. It's my dad loves the really old ones, so I've seen a lot of the ones from the first 2 Doctors, because he keeps finding them on YouTube and other internet sources and playing this. So I've seen quite a lot of it, and for a part of its run, again during that period, I did quite enjoy it. But it's never really been my specialism, I don't think.
You've
I followed the controversy though, inevitably. I am fairly up to date with what it has been going on with it. I can't bring myself to watch. I watched the first 3 episodes, I think, of Jodie Whittaker's, and just to see what all the fuss was not about. And yeah, no, it's not something I'm massively keen to go back to, put politely.
A lot of fans did the same thing as you, didn't go back to it.
Well, after seeing this picture, I mean, why would you really? I mean, what a terrible, you're not really sort of going to get many people interested by showing a headshot like that. I mean, what's she supposed to be? She looks like she's walking around her house looking for something like she's forgotten, like a personality.
She just wandered onto the set. She's an extra who's accidentally been caught in the shot.
She's looking for that one sock that doesn't have a partner that got lost in the dryer or in the wash.
I heard that the BBC has now implemented a rule that 50% of the people that works at the BBC should be women. See, it's not about colour anymore. It's all about women. 50% of the workforce at the BBC should be women, and they're going to implement that.
It's
I think that's terrible.
In real life, I work as a journalist, so I have to sort of keep in touch with what goes on, for instance, the BBC. So yeah, no, the 50% quota is for women. There is still a quota for ethnic minorities that they want. 30. Last time I checked, I think it was 32%. I think of the BBC has to be from ethnic minorities, which maps really neatly the ethnic demographics of London, for instance. but not generally for the rest of the country.
right.
So it's very keen on representing the place it knows best,
representation,
not anywhere else.
Don't you
Thing
get
is,
tired?
though, it's only representing women. Look, you name me one all-black show on the BBC. Name me one now.
I can name you an all-black channel, BBC Three.
BBC Three's an all-black channel?
Pretty much, yeah.
Really? I never knew that. But as I'm saying, they don't. See, they don't.
Yeah. What
do
happened to hiring people on talent?
With the BBC. So if they did that, they'd sack everyone who's currently there.
Yeah. Hang on a minute, right? So half the people are women. If half the people are women, what percentage are men? Because we've got to deal with the transgender and non-binary issue here as well. So
here we go.
That's what I'm saying. It's not about people, the sexuality and the color of people's skin anymore. It's about women now. The BBC has firmly stuck their leg in and said, right, it's all about women now. That's basically, as far as I can tell.
Yeah,
you know.
It's not mostly straight white men.
Yeah, the new female head of BBC News is getting paid £500,000 a year.
Well, good on her. That's all I can say. The BBC is out of favour with people. The only people that's watching BBC is people 70 and beyond watching the BBC now. Yes, a lot of people watch Come Dance and wherever it is, or dance wherever that thing is and stuff like that. But the majority of the shows are not really. They're getting trashed by Netflix and and Disney, I guess, and other channels.
Internet in general.
Sky, they're getting trashed ratings wise. So.
This is where they keep saying that obviously, if it were a subscription model, the BBC says it would be so massively popular that it would outcompete everyone, which is apparently a reason for them not to move to a subscription-based model, because they're too popular to get people to choose to pay for them, so they have to do it by threat of criminality.
Yeah. So what's his name? David Tennant was in. Was it Around the World in 8? Was it Around the World in 80 Days?
Yeah, the woke version.
Yeah. And he wasn't even the star. It was that woman that was with him. It was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. So, anyway, enough about the BBC because they really are garbage. Shit. And
shall we move on from the shit?
Yeah. Bye, Jodie.
Okay. Excuse me. This kind of dropped a couple of weeks ago, but we weren't on last week. Aunt May, from Spider-Man franchise, pitched to the producers that she wanted to play. Well, she wanted the aunt to be homosexual, gay.
Do you know? Is she married in real life? Is she married in real life?
No idea.
Anybody?
No idea.
Interesting.
They
this
said
is one
no.
of those typical virtue signalling things, isn't it? With
Of course it is.
The actor comes out and goes, "Hey, everybody, isn't gay being gay great? Yay, Marisa, Aunt May should be gay. Yay! Right, I'm off. How much did you? Yeah. Where's my $5,000? Thanks."
Marisa Tomei is divorced.
Oh, is she? Is she actually? I mean, I'd like to see a picture of her boyfriend or the guy that she's hanging around with now. I bet you one thing: he's not black and he's not gay, and she's not going out of a woman. I bet you. She's only saying this to be in the club. Basically, that's what she's doing. So it's obvious that's what she's doing.
We did a video on the little platoon on this. So I did a video a little while ago looking at this tendency to turn established characters gay. And to be honest, Aunt May, I don't give a damn about. That doesn't really matter to me. I'm full credit. I'm not straight myself for what that's worth, but I find it incredibly irritating that they just think, yeah, it is, as you say, to get into the club. It's the quickest, easiest, fast track route you can possibly do to take, even to get into that particular club, rather than making new characters with stories that people actually want to read or care about, rather than making new characters with vested interest, with established relationships, with a history. No, it's just take Superman and now he likes dick. So that's checkbox done. We're all fine. Quota established. Move on. Nobody cares about that kind of thing.
Well, you know what? Right. I must make it clear that I'm not against people who want to have people of different sex in films, different colors, gay people, trans people, whatever, them, they, whatever they call them now. I'm not against that. What I am against is them taking an established IP that millions, even billions around the world love and destroying it because they want to shoehorn stuff into it.
They want to check off a box.
I've got a problem. That's the problem I've got with what's happening now.
Let's
make that totally clear. Totally clear.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for. I want more gay superheroes. That's fine, but I want them to be new, and I want them to have stories, and I want them to exist for a reason that's not just their sexuality, which should really be the least interesting thing about them. Is that you can have established Spider-Man, and his girlfriend is, she's a motivation, but she's not integral necessarily to plot. You can have Spider-Man stories without knowing who he's fucking. It's not the most interesting thing about Spider-Man. There are more interesting things about people than who they choose to sleep with, who they prefer. And just create new characters, damn it.
The Mighty Kelvington in the chat, Tomei has said, I'm not a big fan of marriage as an institution, and I don't know why women need to have children to be seen as a complete human being.
No, that's not why they have children. What is wrong with this woman? That is not why. She's talking shit. Like that girl that I saw something that Gary was showing. Some woman with a stud in her nose with blonde hair saying, if you don't like my politics, you don't buy my and all that rubbish. And, because and all that crap, it's all rubbish. It really is. Look, I'm sorry to say this, right, but men are men and women are women, and that's nature. Do you know what can I say? I mean, all men are going to fancy good-looking women. We can't stop doing that. The suggestion that we should all stop doing that, I find insulting. Do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous.
I will just say that's very old school thinking from the Mega Geek.
It's not old school. It's nature. It's nature. Don't say it's old school.
Look, everyone knows. Everyone knows now that humans and clownfish and certain species of tree frog are able to switch between their sexuality at will. That is the science now. So that's
always good.
This is the premise for Jurassic Park. That Jurassic Park was actually a trans allegory.
I don't know. I just think it's all stupid now. It's becoming really stupid. I mean, what is the train of thought here? Is like, if I think I'm a banana, and the rest of the world should accept that I'm a banana. I just think that's stupid. I mean, how could you make that kind of thought a reality, which is what they're trying to do? And now they're having a go at presenters who are really good looking, and people tune in because she's really good looking, and they find that she's not there, so you can have a wank on this girl. It's ridiculous. They never flip it around and say, Henry Cavill is there and loads of women wank over him as well. They never flip it, do they? It's always about the men being sexist.
Men who wank over him as well.
Exactly. Do you know what I mean? This is a fundamental fact. Gay men wank over Henry Cavill. Do you know what I mean? The straight men wank over
on this week.
That's what I'm just saying. I find it insulting to the human race that these people
I'm sure plenty of women that used to find Olivia Munn attractive find it quite insulting as well. I should think, because that's probably why they used to tune in.
I went out of my way to look at Olivia Munn in the Princess Leia outfit.
Oh yeah,
it's for research purposes, of course.
Of course,
hours.
Yeah.
But this whole story here is literally just like another Hollywood celebrity coming out and wearing their "I think gays are great" me t-shirt, isn't it? Just for that month, you know what I mean? They're just wearing their gay t-shirt, and then next month it'll be something completely different. They're just trying to show that they're down with this, homosexuality, everybody, where's my next job? That's all it is.
I don't have a problem with people who want to be a banana or whatever. I just have a problem with them infiltrating the things that I like for reasons to destroy the things that I like. That's the only problem I've got. That's all.
Bananas.
That's all I'm saying.
Bananas, Ian. Bananas. That's very
bananas. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Carry on.
Okay. Shall we move on from this virtue signaling? Whatever she is.
Why not?
I do like her though. She's gorgeous. Marisa Tomei. She's gorgeous.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay. This dropped yesterday or today. Disney Plus, Tim Allen, Santa Claus series for Disney Plus.
How could they make that a series?
I don't know, but I'm kind of.
Isn't it set at Christmas?
Probably. Apparently, the story is to do with him being 65 and he's not quite as young as he used to be.
And then his wife has to take over, and then they make him obsolete, and now Santa is a woman, and suddenly she's a woman of color. So there you go. That's what they're aiming for, aren't they?
Yeah, the new Santa Claus is that he has to go transgender. Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
Question for Brian. Brian, how many times do you think Tim Allen will be kicked in the balls on the TV series?
Oh, several, I would think. I'm reminded of his privilege as well, I would think, at some point.
Yeah.
Well, did you guys ever watch his sitcom Home Improvement that he was on?
I did.
In the 90s?
I thought he was funny.
Well, yeah, but his wife was a real bitch on that show. I mean, that's one of the first instances I've ever seen where a woman treats a man like complete garbage is on Home Improvement. And his character was really funny, but she was awful to him. So it wouldn't surprise me if he let that happen again.
Yeah.
Never give up, never surrender, indeed.
They're really lucky, though, because the existence of Santa Inc. means that this can be absolute crap and still not be the worst Christmas thing ever produced. Because it set the bar so low. You could drown a bag of kittens with tinsel wrapped around the top as a Christmas production, and it would still not be the worst Christmas program ever produced because Santa Inc. exists. So all for it, yeah. I mean, it's good by comparison, I'm sure.
God, I forgot all about Santa Inc. Oh my God, yeah.
Lucky you.
I do like Tim Allen, though.
I do as well.
In his prime, he was very funny. His sitcom, I thought it was quite funny. Yeah.
Well, it was funny. It's just his wife was really hateful to him, and then
Probably why I never watched it.
but a lot of it was based on his stand-up comedy, and he was a really funny stand-up comedian in the 90s. He had some good routines, and his little growling thing where he did, I can't do that, but like he got that from his stand-up routine.
Yeah.
So.
Well, he was great as Buzz Lightyear, wasn't he? Until they pulled him out of that role for this new movie as well.
Yeah.
In the chat, Timmy's in. Timmy.
Timmy.
Hey, Timmy.
Tim Allen, fantastic in Galaxy Quest.
He was, yes.
Which we will cover at some point.
Yeah, he was great in that.
I promise.
His William Shatner impersonation. Well, not impersonation, but it's all based on William Shatner, I think.
Yeah.
One of the best Star Trek films.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, it didn't take you long to get your top off, did it?
Yeah, absolutely funny. Yeah. Right, what's next then? Oh, hello.
Okay.
Kingpin.
Kingpin's had a bit of a rough time on the Hawkeye series. Anybody seen it?
Yes. No, although I did find out he was in it, and that kind of pissed me off a bit.
You say he was in it. He barely was. He turns up right at the end. He never actually meets Hawkeye. He has a fight with not Hawkeye, new Hawkeye, female Hawkeye,
and loses.
Predictably enough, loses, but never actually meets the guy lending his name to the title of the show. He's barely in it at all. And I think if you hadn't watched the Netflix series beforehand, then you wouldn't really know A, anything about him, or B, why he mattered, because it's not explained within Hawkeye itself. He turns up and it's just and he's the head of this comic relief gang of goons called the Tracksuit Mafia. The whole setup is designed to denude him of all seriousness and severity and presence, and then he turns up and you just think, I don't care.
But in season 1, when the climax was when Daredevil had a fight with Kingpin in the alleyway, and Daredevil barely, he won in the end, but the Kingpin gave him a hard time. The guy's a huge guy, and very, very full of energy and murderous intent. And then he fights this little girl, and the little girl takes him out easily. I'm like, well, that's not the Kingpin. Kingpin would have broken her neck.
That's foreshadowing, isn't it, for what we're going to get in the future? I think for Daredevil.
He throws her around a little bit, but she's never in any danger of actually dying.
No,
he gets hit by a car driven by her mum at one point and just flies through the wall, and he gets up and then he stumbles away. It's not a good series.
Evening, Sherry. In the chat, the lovely Sherry. Hail at Mr. Brown Alliance and panel. I briefly read the article before we came on. Vincent, I can't pronounce this, D'Onofrio.
D'Onofrio.
Oh, okay. in a nutshell, it said Marvel pulled the plug on Series 4 because Disney was coming.
Even though Game of Thrones, it's like
even though they had 3 hit seasons and everybody thought it was amazing.
They meld, didn't they? They meld TV and the movies meld. So now Feige's in charge of everything. So now Feige's going to water them down. Mm-hmm. I loved Matt Murdock's appearance in the latest Spider-Man movie. I thought that was fantastic. Although Cox is losing his hair a bit. I noticed in the film. I was like, they need to put a wig on that guy. But there you go. But yeah,
Tom
so they're going to water him
for about the last 60 years. So I'm sure they can find a hairpiece to put on it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you reckon he's wore a wig, Tom Cruise?
Yeah, apparently he does. Yeah. Everywhere he goes, full makeup, and if not a full wig, then it's certainly sort of hair plugs and filler.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
I have to know these things because my dad is painfully bald, and it's a vision of my future, and I really don't want this. So.
Prepare yourself. Yeah, hey, that's smart.
Yeah, I could do with a team of experts like that.
Standard practice in Hollywood, isn't it, to get your hair plugged and your teeth shiny and
Chris Pratt has hair plugs as well in every film he's in.
Does he really?
Wow!
I wouldn't have guessed on that one.
And some actors wear fake nipples if their nipples are too small and they have to go shirtless. It's a really bizarre. There's an industry that exists to make people's nipples bigger. And
what?
It's just odd.
I saw this.
Do we live in?
I don't know. I saw this roundtable thing on YouTube, and it had Nicolas Cage, the guy who played Spider-Man and the Amazing Spider-Man, and all these other actors, and the little guy that's in Luciano Bergerac, the guy that was in Game of Thrones, the little guy, I can't remember his name. The little guy, the midget fella.
Peter Dinklage.
Say midget anymore? Peter Dinklage, yeah, he was there. And the conversation. I mean, you could first of all, Nicolas Cage looked like he had his face pulled and definitely had a full hair transplant. Mm-hmm. Second of all, the conversation turned into how men should demonstrate their, how should we put it, their vulnerability. So I just switched off when they started talking all about that. It was obvious they were going down the woke end. So there you go. So it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Speaking of woke, I'm fearful of this. This dropped as well today or yesterday.
It's a sequel.
A pilot has been ordered for Quantum Leap.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Buffering slightly.
Oh, sorry, was I buffering? Okay, my internet's getting spotty again. Yeah, a new pilot has been ordered, and Scott Bakula isn't involved.
Oh, is he not? I thought it was. I thought it was just. Isn't it not a sequel?
So it's a proper reboot then.
Yeah,
it's a proper reboot. Oh, okay. So maybe Sam would be Samantha, and Al would be. Al would be Leroy James, and he'd be black with a bald head, smoking a cigar.
Sam was Samantha in one of the early episodes, if you remember back.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So there you go. That's Quantum Leap for you. Quantum woke for you. So that's what's probably going to happen, eh?
If it's a woman jumping into men's bodies, that sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? If it's a woman quantum leaping into men's bodies, it'll be like the opposite of what happened in Doctor Who when the Time Lords swapped genders and they're all going, how do you deal with all that testosterone or whatever it is? If that's exactly what it's going to be, it's just going to be men bashing the whole thing.
Yeah, but how are they going to do these? Like Wonder Woman 1984 when Steve Prince went into that man's body. Steve Trevor, that's it. Went into that man's body, and everybody was up in arms about it.
No, not everyone. The media seemed to be okay about it. A lot of YouTubers obviously mentioned it and stuff, but as far as I can tell, majority.
So it was like violation of that man who he jumped into the body. Of course,
it was. It totally was. It's all right if a woman does it, but if a man does it, everybody will be screaming.
On 40 minutes, double standards again. Double standards.
I don't know.
If you remember in the original Quantum Leap, any time that Sam looked like he was going to get his gonads out, he automatically leaped into someone else.
Yeah.
Perfect timing from the captain. Lesbian leap on 40 minutes.
Probably will be called that, but it's, as I said, it's they should just leave it alone. It's a classic series. It doesn't really need to be remade. I remember it with fondness. I don't want it to be, destroyed. Personally.
Stuart Mitchell. Every episode will be another reason to remind Sam of his white privilege.
Yeah.
Jumping back into slave plantations and things like that.
No.
It's not going to be pretty, is it?
Quantum Leap dealt with some serious issues back in the day, despite its overall light-hearted nature, and did it relatively well.
It did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember.
There's one episode where he leaped into a monkey. Would you believe? That was a terrible episode.
Wasn't Michael Jackson's monkey? Was it Bubbles?
No. But no, seriously, look it up. That's the worst episode ever. He leaped into a monkey, and you have to pretend to be a monkey all the way through that episode, wearing a nappy. I'm not joking. Look it up.
Are you sure it wasn't Bubbles?
No, I don't know who it was.
So it's going to be Quantum Leap from now on, then, obviously.
Yeah, probably.
Thank you, Matthew. Okay, so we're quite fearful of Quantum Leap.
We are indeed.
Okay, so 40 minutes, we kind of did okay for that, including introductions. So I'll just do the blurb for this. Capricorn 1, 1977. Runtime, 2 hours, 3 minutes. Starring Elliot Gould as Caulfield.
Gould.
James Gould.
Brolin.
Gould.
Elliot Gould.
Gould.
As Caulfield, James Brolin Brubaker, Brenda Vacario as Mrs. Brubaker, Sam Watson Willis, O.J. Simpson as Walker.
His glove couldn't fit.
The great Hal Holbrook as Kellaway.
Oh, fantastic. He's a fantastic actor.
Karen Black.
Special guest star appearance.
Yeah. As I put here, Drinker. That can't be right.
Nah, she was one of the reporters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Telly Savalas, again, great as Albane.
Yeah.
David Doyle as Lachlan. Directed by Peter Hyams. Writer Peter Hyams. Produced by Paul N. Lazarus III. Michael Rashmill, associate producer. Music by Jerry Goldsmith.
Fantastic music.
Yes. It says here budget $5 million, and I tried looking up the gross, and it didn't say anything. I couldn't find any figures.
You didn't mention it was basically produced by Sir Lou Grade.
Yes, by ITC Entertainment. Yes.
Yep. The same people that was responsible for the Muppets. Would you believe? So there you go. On TV.
I will say,
I think so.
you know where the money came from this? Anybody?
Where'd it come from? Drug money? I don't know.
I think the money came to produce this film from the bit Lou Grade and ITC cancelled season 3 of Space 1999.
Really?
And the money from that came to produce this.
I thought you were going to say OJ pulled a bank job.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I thought it was the reason why Space 1999 season 3 got cancelled was the money was used to raise the Titanic, but apparently it wasn't. I was corrected by somebody that it was apparently this film. So
yeah, but Space 1999 budget wasn't $5 million. They must have taken some of the budget because there was no way.
Yeah, they took they took the money from that.
Which would probably be what? Not even $1 million. It'd probably be it might be over $1 million.
It was the most expensive TV program on at the time.
Not $5 million though. That series would never have cost $5 million, especially last season or So it would have been that whole budget for that next season, and then obviously exec producers and whoever putting money into it. So, and it was 1978 this film came out, I think.
No, it says December 17th,
1977. I see.
Yeah. But
are you sure the 77 Star Wars came out?
No, 77 is the year that this was released in the US, and then it was released in other countries on different dates. But
Wikipedia,
are you sure?
Date was 1977.
Wikipedia says June 1978.
It's 78, isn't it? Because it was up against Superman, and it was going to be released, but then Superman was coming out.
It was released
to move it.
It was released in Japan, Christmas 77. I thought it was 78, and I had to alter all the captions to 77.
But it's
America was 78,
though, wasn't it?
Yeah, because the boyfriend and I looked this up because we kept finding different dates, and it's because each country had a different release date of the movie. But the first date that it came out was in December of 77.
Which was what country?
I thought it was US, but apparently it's Japan.
Japan, Christmas 77.
Yeah, so
right.
Okay. Yeah, so it did originally come out then, but yes, for the most part, everybody saw it in 78.
But I heard that it was released in 1978 because Superman was coming out, and then they had to move the release date because they didn't want to clash with Superman. That's what I heard.
That doesn't surprise me. They probably did that in our country too.
Okay, so the premise of the film is inspiration was taken from the Apollo moon landings, which certain people said it was faked.
Oh yes.
And this was where the inspiration for this film came from, but this time it was Mars. So we've all watched this week, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes.
Lost Chord. Do you want to go first? Thoughts on the film? Did you enjoy it?
I really wanted to. As in, I really wanted to enjoy it. Its premise is interesting. It's set in one of the most interesting periods of history, and politics and political history is a passion of mine anyway. And of course, this is about 6 years after Watergate, which is one of the heavy influences of the film. They do go so far as to mention Woodward and Bernstein in the film itself. Combine that with the sci-fi premise, and obviously everyone knows a little bit, at least, about various moon landing conspiracies, and you have the potential for a fascinating blend of concepts. And it's also important to remember how important it was at the time, how much trust in the American government in particular had been completely undermined, first by the Vietnam War, second by the Watergate scandal, and those two things are linked anyway. So I went into this thinking, okay, this has the potential to be great. And I think the ideas behind it were good. It's just the delivery isn't very much at all. It tries to cram in too many disparate genres. I'm a big fan of genre blending in films, but that involves melding genres, not splicing bits of one genre up against bits of another genre. So the film jumps between the fairly sort of sci-fi realism of the opening, which Stanley Kubrick gets a lot of credit for telling people that they can do realistic sci-fi interestingly. But then it jumps from that into this weird sort of Planet of the Apes inspired desert chase sequence, and then into sort of the Bergman style film noir of the journalists uncovering of the plot, and then it's jumping between the wife, and it's jumping between the escaping astronauts, and then back to the head of NASA, and it's cramming far too much into a very short space of time. The delivery then really lets it down, and it still, despite having so much in it, manages to feel like it's way too long, which is quite an achievement.
2 hours. Ian, what did you think?
I really liked
3 minutes.
I really like this film. I mean, I have to disagree. Yes, it's a film of its time, and it was juggling 3 stories, 4 if you look at the from the wife's point of view, but mainly it was 3 stories: the journalist, the actual mission itself, and then when they escape. So I think it did it very well. Plus, as I said, it's a film of its time. So when films like that came out at that moment in time, they tried to cram as many stars in as possible, from Elliot Gould to Karen Black to Telly Savalas was big around about that time. You know, they were just trying to cram loads of people, and that's probably one of its mistakes when they were trying to cram people in there. I like the idea that they tried to kill. I thought Elliot Gould's character was really entertaining, and I love Bosley. You know, the guy who plays Bosley in Charlie's Angels. He's absolutely hilarious in this, especially when he fires him. Gets him out of jail and he fires him. I thought it's absolutely really funny. I just thought the movie was really entertaining, and I can see what Lost Chord was saying. I can see what he's saying, right? But when I first saw it, which was a long time ago, I really did think it was a really good thriller. And I think it's very entertaining. And as I said, it's a film of its time. And even when you look at it now, I kind of agree with you then, but I still think it's a well-constructed movie and a very enjoyable movie at that. I really don't wanted to see beyond the point when the film ended. I wanted to see, him reach the graveyard and then everybody, you know what I mean? But it stopped when he was just running towards it, and it stopped.
Oh, but the slow-mo, really testing the limits in the final scene of the slow-mo technology when the frame rate just drops, and I thought my computer had crashed. But no, it's just for dramatic effects. But also, I love the beginning, because remember we were talking about this earlier, Ian. I think it was on First Blood. You'll have Capricorn 1 up, and you'll have the copyright title at the bottom of the title. That they stopped doing that now, but that kind of dates it as well. But I like this film. I enjoyed it personally.
Yeah, I like
Sorry, I'll stop now.
as well. Rennie, thoughts?
Okay. I watched this with the significant other, and he really liked it. I did not. Like the whole time we were watching the movie, Tyron's like, I really love this movie. Oh my God, this is such a good movie. I'm like,
thank you, Tyron.
You don't shut the hell up, and I'm already not having fun here. But no, his excitement kept me enthralled in the movie, and it's thanks to him that I made it all the way through this movie, because I tried watching it a couple times by myself, and the rotoscoping at the beginning was so awful. I just kept giving up, right?
Yeah.
And so finally, you get to the point where, okay, I'm watching it with someone who's enthusiastic, so it made it a little bit more palatable. But like, there's some concepts that just don't work for me. For instance, this is one thing that he and I were talking about as well. So if you pull an astronaut out of the spaceship, Mission Control is going to know that, because they do monitor heart rates and all that stuff. I've actually been to Mission Control in NASA in Houston, and they do keep a very close eye on the astronauts. So, I mean, if you're going to do something like this, you probably would have either used doubles or like dummies or something to make them see that people are there, because how are you going to explain that stuff like heartbeats aren't beating and people aren't there whenever they're checking the cameras inside the shuttle? So that just didn't work for me, and it pulled me out of the film. And
Wait,
then,
they had that guy, Rennie, didn't they? The guy at NASA, and he was trying to explain to the guy, this doesn't make any sense. These
the
things.
one
You remember
guy
him?
who disappeared.
Yeah.
But,
well, they killed him, didn't they?
Well, yeah.
They killed him,
He
yeah.
supposedly never existed, because even his apartment
Yeah.
was never
Yeah.
lived in by him.
Yeah.
But, so that was like one thing where they tried to kind of make it realistic, but more than one person would have been able to notice that. But yeah, I mean, the whole thriller thing of everybody getting chased down, but it got to be to the point where it was predictable. It's like, you knew there was going to be one survivor, you knew who the survivor was going to be, you knew how it was going to go down, you knew who'd barely make it. It was too predictable for me on that front. So, although I can see the reason why this would be an enjoyable concept, I just personally didn't enjoy it.
So,
do you know what? If it was made today,
you enjoyed it.
If it was made today, O.J. Simpson would have been the one that survived.
Well, and it's sad, because when you're watching this, right, you're like, oh my God, he was the token black guy in the movie, and that's awful.
He was.
But that's exactly why he was in the movie, right? He had, 2 lines?
I actually did like his performance, though. I liked his performance.
Yeah, I did as well.
Yeah.
You'd think he would have been better when the chase in real life happened, though, wouldn't you? Given he's got so much experience.
But you know what? This was his second movie. It was his second, because the first movie was Tower Inferno. He played a guard, and the director didn't want him. Thought he was rubbish in Tower Inferno. But then when it came to the desert scene, where he was like meant to be, see double ships and all that stuff. The director thought he was really good. So there you go.
Can I just really quickly ask, because I as the first couple of times I've seen this, and both times I think I might have missed something. Maybe I have. How do they get them? Because obviously they have a TV crew, at least one TV crew, and we know from real life satellite launches and rocket launches that there's usually several TV crews. There's a TV crew, there's a live audience. How do they get the astronauts out of a rocket, into a car, to an airport, into a plane, which flies
without
off and no one
seen
sees
or
any
noticed?
of this?
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's one of those things.
Realistic.
You're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, it's one of those things that, it's artistic license in it to make the plot move forward, kind of thing, So
Now, the one thing I will give them is they didn't have the same kind of technology that we have today, but I still think because NASA is so heavily like infiltrated by the U.S. Government and U.S. military that they would have gotten caught. There's just no way that wouldn't have happened.
Of course, You're right.
It was it was a naive approach to the subject back then. It was a very simplistic look at how this might play out. And obviously audiences back then in the late 70s were equally as naive as audiences go. They're going to sit there and enjoy the entertainment and not really question it too much. But totally agree. I have to agree. I was asking a lot of questions all the way through it myself, like, how is no one noticing that there's no delay on the communications? They're like sitting Mars.
Somebody did.
Like not the 21-minute delay that they were supposed to have when they were talking to their families, right?
I was going to say that was a moment that took me out of the film. Swappers, so what did you think of the film?
This is the first time I've seen it since I was about 9, I think.
It's been a long time since I've seen it.
It was on TV, in the early 80s, and I remember like people talking about it in the playground and stuff. And I did see it, although being 9 years old, I was just so into lasers and playing the Star Wars toys and just running around, shooting like Buck Rogers and stuff. And sitting there and watching this was kind of a movie that would have been too much for me to endure back then and properly pay attention to the script. And the sort of the long drawn out bits that, without any action in or anything like that, because there's no conflict or anything, the action's very kind of sparse in it. But as an adult watching it, I saw it in a completely different light, and I can see all its shortcomings, and I did genuinely enjoy it. I was a bit sad that, we're talking about a film from a far more simpler time, but I was a bit sad that there wasn't any more depth to it other than the fact that this division of NASA were just trying to save money, basically, at the end of the day. And
it was a failure of the...
that's not really that much these days anyway, that much of a compelling reason to pull something like this off. I much would have preferred it to be something like some kind of conspiracy or some kind of alluding to some kind of intelligence out there in space that doesn't want us to go exploring, and NASA have had to try and pull back and prevent this mission taking place, otherwise something bad's going to happen to the planet.
Failure.
That was the life support technology, wasn't it, that they said that it would have just fallen apart. It would have been good to have allude to, or at least show something about the Mars mission that was ET related, not in your face, but ET related as far as discoveries go that we're not supposed to know, things like that, just to add that kind of bit of extra intrigue and an extra layer there that would have been, at the end it would have made that scene where he reveals himself at the end and everyone sees him to be more poignant, because not only would it have been a good reveal to find out that he survived and therefore that everything's been fake, but also, oh my God, what else have they been hiding? This is the implications of this for the entire planet are just like so far reaching, and therefore there's so much more riding on it, and it would have made it that much more exciting personally. That's not to say that could have been going on in there and we just didn't see it. I suppose you could add that on if you really wanted to. There's no reason why you couldn't kind of pretend that was going on somewhere else. There was some secretive agency handling it all behind the scenes. But as it was, I thought it was genuinely quite simplistic. But back then, obviously, it worked in films like that. There's a lot of errors and things like that with it. Obviously, like the time delays, little kind of technical things, but not really what the mainstream audience is really going to concern concern itself much with too much. I really did enjoy. Can I just say I really did enjoy the bit where Telly Savalas pops up.
I didn't realize that was him. I was like, oh my God, I'm so dumb.
I loved his character, man. He was just like this really abrasive character. I just had this big smile on my face, and I just thought, wow,
shot that in one day.
He's great, and I wish I'd.
And he hates flying.
I wish he'd been at the end as well, like sort of with the other two, because the kind of he saved that guy's life, and survived against those helicopters and everything. He kind of deserved a bit more time on screen because of what he had helped achieve. But yeah, I did enjoy him when he popped to Elliot Gould. I thought he's just brilliant in everything, I think, isn't he? I don't think I've seen
He is.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I love Elliot Gould.
Yeah, he's so convincing. I mean, even though his lines and script in this weren't the most dynamic, he's always, even though his lines might not be the most believable and he might not be reading off the most believable script, he makes everything just believable. You just buy it completely. And his lines with his girlfriend / sort of colleague, I thought were kind of really understated and
Karen Black.
Yeah, almost monotonous, but you kind of almost believe their little kind of backwards and forwards that's going on between them, even though there's not that much of a spark there. You kind of almost believe it. But I love the bit at the end where she pulls up on screen in this beautiful beautiful Datsun 350Z, I think it is, and one of my favorite cars. Oh God, I loved it. My eyes were just like saucers at that point. I thought, wow, look at this. But and the sort of bit of banter they had on screen, and she's obviously attracted to him because he's kind of like a little bit of a dangerous individual. Kind of, he lives on the edge a little bit. You know? I mean, in this day and age, a film like this, you could portray him as being a bit more edgy. Obviously, back then he's very pedestrian, but that's why she finds him attractive, is because she's obviously not playing. She's playing hard to get, but I love the bit where they're talking about jumping each other and stuff all the time. And which is like typical 70s language, isn't it? And they just before she like gives him her money, she gives him her car keys, and it's like no one would do that these days. But there's a reason she's doing it. It's because she finds him, compelling and attractive, and there's something about him that she actually does want to know more. And the fact that he's going off on this risky mission, she's like, "Oh my God, my knickers! You've just found my way around my ankles for some strange reason." And it's just, it would be completely unbelievable. But with this kind of dynamic these two characters have, I kind of bought it. I really did. But yeah, his character, I thought was great. James Brolin, kind of a bit understated all the way through the movie, but I thought he pulled it off really well. And ultimately, I did really enjoy it, even though it's not the best film ever, but I did enjoy it.
Brian, did you enjoy it? Yes.
Well, this was my first viewing, but I didn't know anything about this film at all. I thought it was going to be an out-and-out sci-fi film, but it's really just a thriller. I found it to be pretty intriguing from the start, and it reminded me actually just how good a proper thriller can be. I thought the character's motivation was very strong, and everyone appears to be compromised, and even the antagonists, they're not so much evil as desperate. I thought there was some brilliant performances some decent performances from Gould, Brolin, Watterson, and Brenda Vaccaro, is it?
Yeah,
I think
Brenda
for me,
Vaccaro.
Yes.
Hal Holbrook just stole the entire movie.
Unfortunately,
I felt the film just came apart really pretty badly in the last 45, almost to the point where it felt as if another writer / director had taken over. I hate to disagree with you, lads, but I thought that the cameos by Telly Savalas and David Doyle were really fucking irritating, and I think they dissipated much of the tension that had been built up really pretty well in the first hour or so. So after a really pretty solid start, I think after the hour mark, it just ended up meandering to a farcical end for me, which was a shame because I was really enjoying it. So all in, I think it's a bit of a wasted opportunity from a really pretty clever premise.
That's a shame.
The tone did take a bit of a bit off balance, didn't it, at the end?
I have a weird question for you guys. So, like, at the beginning of the movie, like, Hal Holbrook's character basically talks about, like, well, the reason that we did this is because we know it's not going to work and we didn't want to make the president look bad, blah, 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 right? So we don't want to do this and we don't want to endanger your lives. But at the end of it all, they basically made it look like they died anyways and then it didn't work. So
no,
what was the
they
point
didn't.
of all of it?
No, the ship, as it was coming back down, it blew up.
The shield
blew up. Yeah.
So it didn't work, right? Because their mission ultimately failed since they didn't make it
wasn't
back
on
alive.
purpose.
No, that wasn't the plan. So now, if the ship blows up, now they have to kill the astronauts. That was the reason why they were going to kill the astronauts, because the ship blew up. But how do they explain the ship blows up, yet they're still alive? They can't explain that. So now they have to cover their ass by killing the astronauts. And
which is a really big problem, by the way, with the way this film operates, because the astronaut characters, partly because it's spread over such a... It has to encompass 3 or 4 different sets of characters. So it can't really devote any time to any particular set to actually establish properly their motivations, give them time to think things through. So if they had actually spent time fleshing out the astronauts and not just using them as props in the story, which is effectively what they were, then you would see, well, they would surely have had time to think, given this mission takes place over the course of several days. Okay, well, wait a minute. What happens if we just say no? Or what happens if something does go wrong? Or what happens if the shuttle, when it is returning, blows up? Then what happens to us? It gives the astronauts any time at all to actually think about their positions. Their positions are completely untenable, and there is no way they would have agreed to go along with it. Which is a problem with the construction of the film, because that makes them a contrivance. That means that it's not going to give them the time.
There was a scene in the film when they did do that. Wasn't there a scene in the film when
there was a slight in its defense, they gave them something like, I have to get back to him. Sorry, Hal Halbert's character said, we have to get back to him within an hour, otherwise they're going to kill your families in the plane crash.
Yeah, and do you remember the scene?
It doesn't really work. I can understand why it doesn't work maybe after that, but in that very moment, I think that's when they switched to say, right, we need to do this.
But there was a scene in the film where they were all sitting there and they said they'll get back to them and they're waiting, and they knew something was wrong. Do you remember? And then that's when I said, what happens if something goes wrong? What happens? Blah blah blah. They're gonna do away with us, and that's when they decided to escape. Do you remember that scene where they were in the room alone?
Yeah. Because they realized that they were getting screwed over after all.
Yeah.
Because it was all planned,
apart.
in my opinion.
You're right.
They never were going to make it out. They were never going to make it out, and that's messed up. What was the point?
It's not a perfect film at all, but it is entertaining. I found it entertaining. And also Jerry Goldsmith's music. Without the music, this film wouldn't be half as exciting as it is, because the music really does play into this film. And as I said, I enjoyed it personally, but there are lots of mistakes in this movie, loads.
I'm with regards to the heat shield, I'm kind of assuming the actual spacecraft that came back, I'm assuming that it went to Mars and came back. I think the heat shield was a genuine accident.
Yeah, that bit was a genuine accident. But the problem is that the premise is that the reason
that was game over then.
The motivation for NASA doing what it did, establishing this conspiracy, was that if the people found out that it failed, if the astronauts had died because the company they'd contracted to do the life support system actually ended up killing them, then the mission would be a failure, all their funding would be pulled, there would be no reason for them to exist anymore. All of that could be satisfied if the astronauts simply refused to go along at the beginning. Meaning that making the threat of murdering their families completely supererogatory, because they would still have failed in their mission. If the astronauts had just said, nah, I'll be all right, actually, I'm not going to do it, they're screwed, because that's the premise that's set up. That is the motivation of the NASA director, is reputational preservation. If you destroy that, which the astronauts had in their power from the first minute of the film, then you don't have a film anymore, which makes it a bit contrived. But I don't want to sound like I'm completely negative, but there were bits to enjoy about the film. But the premise, the premise was interesting. The problem is how it delivered on the premise, and that was just almost universally bad.
But you're absolutely right, and Rennie's absolutely right as well. The script is flawed, okay, right? But the thing is, I still enjoyed it. That the script is really, really flawed, and all the things that you guys pointed out is absolutely, totally right about this film. Totally right about this film. But if you just see the film as dumb entertainment, which it is, then you would enjoy it, and I enjoyed it.
We've said this many times that if a film doesn't take the piss out of the audience will allow for this kind of flaws and will kind of run with it. Yeah. And taking the piss happens a lot these days, doesn't it? Whereas back then it was different, and it's got its faults, but I still enjoyed this film.
Yeah, I did, but the thing is, okay, right, so if this was written really well, I give an example, right? When you have too many characters in your script, there are shortcuts you can do in a script to actually tell the people who they are. Like, for instance, right, we didn't do Taking the Pelham 1, 2, 3, right? They had 4 characters in there, or 5 characters in there, took over a train station, right? And to actually tell you who they were, they did things in the first second that you saw them to explain who they are and where they're coming from. Like, for instance, one of them goes on the tube, sees this woman, right, touches her ass, and, you know, laughs, and then goes up against the wall waiting for something to happen. And you know exactly who he is. He's a sexist twat. Do you know what I mean? And you know, and then the other one, they do other things as well. Like, one of the guys had a bit of a stutter, and you know that he was following them. You know, the guy was sneezing, all that stuff. They do all that stuff in the writing. So when you have too many characters, and a good script writer would show you who they are within the second that you see them. In this script, they don't. You know, they don't. You have to guess who they are. Do you know what I mean? So,
and when you can't guess who they are, it gives you really, really long speeches to establish
exactly
what you really should have done by demonstration. So you get the first one, which is establishing the plot from the NASA director, which just goes on for about half an hour. And then later on, you get the editor speaking to the journalist character, whose name escapes me for the moment, who is now giving us backstory for the character of the journalist, which we should by then have seen, given that he's been in the film for the last 40-odd minutes. But and then they apologize for making speeches. Both speeches end with, well, that was a speech, or so much for the speech, or that was a really good speech. If you're acknowledging that as a flaw in your script in the film, maybe rewrite that bit of the script so it's not so obvious. Speeches don't naturally occur in dialogue anyway, unless I'm going on a rant. They generally don't. You have to have a bit more give and take in dialogue, which is another really good way of showing character and motivation, which this film doesn't really do very well, unfortunately.
No,
there was
and
one character.
Go on, Brian.
One character I thought they had that in, and that was Sam Watterson's. But they basically said, before he'd even really opened his mouth, he said, "Look, just for once, say nothing." So straight away, you know, he's the kind of smart arse.
Exactly.
That was one instance I thought that worked. Sorry.
Yeah, the beginning was really good for that, actually. I like that.
But the film actually started an hour into the film. And I totally agree that the film should have started. I mean, the actual action itself started at 1 hour into the film, and this is a 2-hour movie. So it just goes to show that the writing's not very good. In fact, it started when they got onto the plane and they escaped on the plane. That's when the film kicked off. The rest of it is just a lot of writing of people talking and stuff.
I liked a lot of the stuff up until the first hour. It didn't need to be an action. It was the thriller. It was the thrill element for me that worked for it. You know,
it's like what is it? Ghostbusters Afterlife. The film started when that little girl was in the gunner seat and were chasing after Muncher. The rest of it was okay, but it basically dragged. And this film dragged in for the first hour as well, but I wouldn't say it was not interesting. I thought it was very interesting, but I agree.
Think it dragged, but that's just me.
No, I didn't think it dragged either, but they should have got to things sooner. They shouldn't have had 1 hour.
But there's 2 interesting answers here, because you've got one saying that actually, no, the first hour of the film, the suspense element is the best part, and the other saying that actually the suspense part is the bit that dragged. You should have got to the action. I think my point is that the film needs to decide which of these 2 things it's going for and not try and do both. So if it's trying to do the All the President's Men style intrigue, which is the first hour, that's what it should have continued to. You can't break... If you'd watched All the President's Men and then you decided to throw in the first hour of Predator in the second half of that film...
I would like to see that film.
Edward Bernstein to Arnold Schwarzenegger in a jungle. That just doesn't... That's jarring.
That's what it felt like to me, and that's when I said it. You know, I think it almost was as if someone else, fucking Harold Lloyd or someone, took over in the second half. It was bizarre to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Shall we start piling through the slides?
Do it.
Okay. So
do it.
Capricorn 1, copyright XX. What does it say?
Don't do a captain, just press the next slide, for God's sake.
Okay. we will pile through these.
Doesn't have the ear, but hey.
Rotoscoping.
Again, this kind of took me out a little bit. A Saturn V rocket, it would have been a different vehicle to get to Mars. But
just point very quickly of historical. So the Apollo program ends in 1972, and it was replaced. The last few missions of the Apollo program were actually replaced with Saturn rocket missions, I think. So it might have been a different rocket to get to Mars, but actually in the timeline, it kind of works that it's a Saturn rocket.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I've actually seen one of those in person in NASA. So
Oh, good for you.
that's pretty cool. Just saying.
Okay, so we're in the rocket. Been loaded up. Mission control, which look genuine, look quite good. Apparently NASA were portrayed in a very, very bad light in this film, but they provided all the space vehicles and, I would imagine, facilities to shoot the film. So they provided all the stuff so we could see, all the spacecraft for real. So good on them, I suppose. That's the guy at the very, very beginning. They were setting this guy's character, this guy's arc up, wasn't they? That he was going to be the one who noticed discrepancies, but we didn't know this at the time.
Yeah, he was the one that spotted a couple of mistakes, wasn't he? On the computer and stuff.
Yeah, he was the only one at NASA that could spot a mistake. Pretty.
Yeah.
The TV signals were coming in too early or something.
Yeah. And the guy was saying it's a mistake or something like that, wasn't he? He was saying, don't worry about it. We'll check it out and all that.
We just got that system fixed.
Yeah.
Console, whatever. Okay, so the viewing stand, they're watching the rocket going to launch. The vice president is in, I think. And then just before launch, the door opens and he says, "Get out.
Can you follow us, gentlemen?"
No time to explain.
Yeah.
Fish bowls they're wearing on their heads.
Yeah.
And then they're taken away to an awaiting helicopter or private jet or something.
Yep.
This is the bit where everyone we've just seen in the stands has their eyes closed for this entire sequence.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, but no. Would they have seen the astronauts being taken out though?
Well, they could have. So, for instance, it depends on where the door is. So, if the door is behind the view of them, they could have actually came down and be shielded by the actual rocket itself. And at the bottom, they could just pile them in the car, and all the audience would see is a car driving away from the rocket. Could have done it that way, but it is a film, though, I guess. So.
Yeah. Then the plane takes off, and then they're kind of being semi-briefed in the plane.
Here, put these outfits on.
Yeah, and then in the meantime, the actual rocket takes off.
It was written by Peter Hyams, wasn't it? The script. It was a screenplay by him.
Who also did Outland as well, which is a great film.
He did indeed. In fact, the same company in this film is the same company name uses in Outland, isn't it? I think is the ones that made the life support system. Yeah, uses the same name.
Wow. Great film, Outland.
It is. Sean Connery's excellent in that film.
Yeah. And they land.
You think the last thing they'd want to wear is some NASA outfit in it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Lads?
Yeah. No, actually, no, because they wanted him to go out on the stage, didn't they? And pretend they're on
true
there.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Retract that.
Yeah. O.J. Simpson was only there because he was famous at the time, and they needed famous people apparently. So because the director didn't want him at all.
I kind of got the feeling that Salu Grade was trying to pull some favors and get some big names in with this one.
Yeah, he did, and he did very well.
Doing cameos.
Yep.
Because these were at the time, these were massive names.
In fact, Brolin was up for playing James Bond at one point. He did a audition for James Bond, didn't he, Brolin? There you go.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, you can see his audition on YouTube if you type it in. James Brolin as James Bond. You'll see it.
Wow.
You see his audition. Yeah.
And then we got a fine Hal Holbrook speech.
He always plays slimy presidents or someone in charge, isn't he?
Such a good actor. Such a great actor.
I didn't realise how good an actor he was. The only thing I can remember seeing him in was Fletch Lives.
Yeah, yeah.
I think he was in one of the Dirty Harry films as well, wasn't he?
He was. He played Dirty Harry's boss.
Yeah. Such a great actor.
Man's got to know his limitations. That's the ending.
So I think that was a speech about reruns of I Love Lucy or whatever it is. Lucille is watched more than the space program and pressure.
Which he was. I wrote a piece about this a couple of years ago on public support for the space program in general, but the lunar missions in particular. And everyone remembers it as this, and rightly remembers it as this huge climactic event. But actually, public support in the United States for the moon landings, it was never even plurality support. You consistently had 60 to 70% of all Americans polled saying the money would be better spent on other things. And the moon landings should not only not be funded, but NASA funding generally should in fact be cut. And this has actually been a fairly consistent thing throughout American politics for the last 40, 50 years. I think you can still poll people today and you find that support for space exploration is very, very low considering the amount of media attention and adulation it gets. Sci-fi films are way more popular than actual science is.
Wow. And then we go in the studio.
It's not a very big studio, is it?
No.
Do you know what I mean?
It looks like just an
Low
airplane
production
hangar.
effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I think did they not use some of this set in Diamonds Are Forever? Or did they nick stuff? I can't remember this. I know there's some history between Diamonds Are Forever and this film. I don't know if you remember Diamonds Are Forever where James Bond runs through a moon landing thing. I think they used some of the set or so. I don't know. Yeah,
but that wasn't Diamonds Forever about 3-4 years before this, if not longer.
Yeah, I think they used some of the stuff from the set of Diamonds. I don't know. I know there's some connection with Diamonds Are Forever in this film.
Okay,
I can't remember what it was.
Really good of NASA to provide all this genuine space hardware.
Yeah.
Yeah, they probably went, "Oh, we got this spare movie set.
Look at that! Look at that!" Yeah.
Oh, you're doing a film about faking a landing? Well, we've done that previously, so would you like to use our set?
It is stupid, right, the script, because basically, how did he know that he was going to convince all three of them to do it? Do you know what I mean? I mean, all it took is one person to say, "No, I don't want to do this," and then they're screwed, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, but that's when they brought out the big guns saying your family's.
Yeah, they'll threaten your family, so therefore, what choice?
There you go.
Yeah.
But they don't pay attention, do they, later on when the journalist goes to visit the wife and there's no one there guarding the house? They don't seem to pay a huge amount of attention to the family other than threatening the family in this particular scene.
I thought
sort of ignore them.
Yeah, it doesn't continue.
I thought
I
Elliot
was
Gould's
really
character
surprised they
would be-
weren't under watch.
Yeah, I thought the Elliot Gould's character would be he'd be tailed a lot more as well. I thought after he'd been thrown in the water and he'd maybe try and fake his death or something, because they'd be out for him and there'd be someone constantly surveying him or something. But turns out no, he's perfectly fine, really. other than getting drugs planted on him. That was it.
Yeah, because Elliot Gould was at the launch because he's a friend of one of the technicians who was set up previously.
He vanished.
So we'll just pile through these. So that's the wife of Brubaker saying how proud, blah blah blah. Then we go to March 16th. So it's 3 months. That's 3 months later, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which at least they kind of got the timeline correct. Thank God.
I was looking at that. I was thinking, how long does it take to get to Mars again? It was pretty quick when they landed. I thought,
Yeah. So the technician, we got a problem. The signals are coming in quicker. Console 36.
Mm-hmm.
Then he goes back to his apartment having a fag. And then May 14th.
I was trying to gauge what year this was made because everything is so brown and beige.
70s.
Yeah.
That guy,
the great
what's he been in?
Alan
That
Fudge.
guy. Yeah, he's been in lots of stuff, hasn't he?
Don't know. Did he stand in for
Man from
Richie
Atlantis?
Sorry, swap. What did you say?
Maybe he stood in for Richie Cunningham. I don't know.
I think he was in Man from Atlantis. And his name's Alan Fudge, and he was like one of these jobbing actors that appeared in everything in the 70s and 80s.
Wow, even his name's brown. Imagine that. Well,
Fudge.
not your brown, but a different shade of brown.
Thank you. And then he's having problems with his console still. So we're back at we're at the president's, or is it the vice president?
It's the Veep at this point. It's the vice president.
Oh, yeah. I think, is this the guy in charge of the space program or something? And he's waiting for a phone call from the vice president.
I think that's right. Yeah, because he's the one. There's the scene at the beginning in the stands, and he's the one who asks for the extra binoculars. That's the one. Yeah, he's in charge of the program.
So all the wives are watching. I think this is the landing, isn't it?
Yeah, these all the wives
watching. Yeah, just let me get rid of a bot. Seems to be lots of bots around on YouTube recently. So they're all watching the landing. And yay. Phone call from the vice president. What an asshole.
This guy's going, there's something wrong.
Yeah. So we're doing the live coverage. They're going to do the slow motion.
Yeah.
What's the name of the guy on the left? He was in Hill Street Blues, wasn't he? And Star Trek 3. James B. Sickin, is it?
Yeah,
I can't remember his name.
Something like that. Yeah. So they're doing the big speech. And it pans out. And then, meanwhile, back at the pool hall or the bar, the technician is speaking to Elliot Gould's character about what's going on.
Doesn't he? Did he just get a random phone call? How did they even know he was there?
There you go. Yeah.
Well, in those days, they never had mobiles, did they? If you frequent that bar a lot, they people know to phone that bar, and
I guess
you know what I mean. So
exactly.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, I lived through the 70s, and I know that happened a lot.
So did I.
Yeah. So.
And then he goes back to the pool table,
and he's gone.
He's gone. Okay, I will pile through these. So, meanwhile, back at the ranch, as it were.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch. Yep.
So they're kind of discussing they don't want to do it, and he's going, we might have a problem.
They've just got one guy casually smoking a pipe, listening.
yeah.
You'd be like a full team, wouldn't you? Like constantly with headphones on, like listening to every word they say.
Yeah. So I think July 22nd is they're approaching Earth, isn't it?
And Elliot Gould's got that. Yeah, I like Elliot Gould in this film. I thought he was really good. Yeah, really good.
I just miss being allowed to smoke in offices.
Yeah, because
offices and buildings were like really busy places, and you genuinely believed there was work being done there, like in the Superman movies. Whereas when I saw Superman Returns, it was just like a sterile environment. It was like a morgue. There was hardly anyone there. But like, this is what you want right here.
He's ringing the operator up to find out what's happened to his friend, and if the phone, because he keeps trying to phone him and it's just not having it.
And then when he goes to the house, there's somebody else living there, isn't there?
Yeah. So back at NASA, the console's gone, and he's seen it. All right. This is the. This was the conference call on when they're on Mars, isn't it?
When they're coming back, I think they're talking to their wives. So I think they're coming back to Earth. They're back in the spaceship. I think I can't remember.
Yeah, and there's the really significant bit in it, which is when he talks about the family holiday that they used to go on.
That's right.
Didn't. Which is fairly well. Again, the intrigue part of this film is quite good. I quite like up until roughly this point, actually.
Yeah.
I thought they were still on Mars, and this was a conference call, and the 20 minutes took me out of this.
Yeah, because it was supposed to be a 21-minute delay.
Which was a shame.
Maybe they just edited it out. And didn't
Sure.
It didn't feel like it, though.
No, that would be a very charitable reading of this film.
Yeah, so... I've seen this before, and I wasn't kind of bothered. It's been a long time since I've seen this, so obviously I didn't kind of realise back then. But today, I thought, okay.
Yeah, it's not right.
And then it's like
changing physics to suit the plot.
Yeah. So then we've got a problem. Stand by. Cut the just in case.
It's really funny. In the 70s, they always had red or green phones, didn't they? For some reason.
Yeah.
Like Batman.
Yeah.
So Caulfield goes to this apartments block.
Yeah.
Nice Mustang there.
And that's the girl from Hill Street Blues. Another person from Hill Street Blues.
If I might, I found this part slightly irritating as well, because we're supposed to believe that his contact, the technician, has only one friend in the world, and it's him. Because no one else apparently has noticed he's gone missing. There's a bit in the Apple TV series Foundation that's on at the moment, where one of the emperors has to try and take vengeance on a character who's, without giving away any spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it, has tried to bring down his regime, and he says he's going to end her legacy. So he goes around and he says, I found everyone who is ever connected to your friends, your teachers, your family, and it amounts to about 3,000 people who he has to snuff out in the blink of an eye. In this film, it's not. The technician apparently has one friend in the world. You can disappear him, and the only person who will notice he is gone, he has no family, he has no friends, he has no colleagues, only person who notices he's gone is the journalist. Which it's much harder in real life to actually disappear people. I know, I've tried.
But that's what I'm saying. The script is not well written, and it's not well thought out. I mean, but the thing is, as I said, if you think about all these things, then it'll just take you out the movie. If you just go with it, then you'll just enjoy the nonsense that you're watching, innit? I guess.
Yeah, they weren't taking the piss out of the viewers, so we'll kind of forgive them. But it was a different time anyway, wasn't there? Really,
exactly.
So
this
awful.
This took me out.
But you know, they've used this in loads of TV shows. This chase. They've used the footage from this film and loads from the Hulk to Spider-Man to they've just reused this.
They have
90-degree turns at 80 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Some of it was laughable, wasn't it? When it goes up to about 100 and suddenly he's weaving in between traffic without the tyre squealing. And basically, they just sped the footage up.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
I remember loving it back then, though, in like the 80s, seeing it.
I get to relive it every time I'm in the car with my mum driving.
So the brake's not working. In fact, nothing's
working. What a surprise.
But he just keeps getting faster and faster, and then he goes in the drink.
He miraculously survives.
The car, oh no.
Well, he's the star, so he has to survive, I guess.
Yeah.
I was a bit gutted when it was a Mustang. I love Mustangs, and I just thought, ouch.
Okay, so judging by the date, the conference call was on Mars.
I see.
As I said. So the 20-minute convenience of forgetting kind of took me out a little bit.
It's about 2 years to get to Mars, supposedly.
I don't know how long it takes to get to Mars.
It's about 2 years, I think.
Is it?
Depending on where the orbit is.
Yeah, I think there's a quick way and a long way. I assume they took the quick way on this.
Yeah.
So the ship is waiting, for the capsule to arrive. And then they're leaving. So, yeah. They're leaving to the go to the capsule that's going to land. Was it 250 miles off course?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was going to be dropped off by another aircraft.
Yeah. So this is all genuine. So the fault must have been an actual fault on the spacecraft when it came back.
It was.
Didn't know.
Yeah. That's not.
It was.
Yeah. I think the guy saying there's a potential problem with something wrong with the spacecraft, and he said just keep an eye on it. So all the wives are watching, and then this is where you get the heat shield.
Is that? It looks like a computer game on that screen, doesn't it?
Yeah.
One of those really old-fashioned computer games.
Yeah, they're playing Atari Pong. Yes.
And then they fake flatline everybody. And
no expense there with a bit of masking tape with some magic marker.
Yeah.
That goes back to the point that Rennie made earlier on about them monitoring their heart rates. You know, it's not as if I can say, well, they didn't really do that in this one, but then you see it later on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Shane Nolan, 18 months or so. And then Hail Sandra. The trip to Mars takes somewhere between 128 to 333 days.
But they must have, but Rennie, they must have, I mean, this goes a kind of like, if you think about it, but even I didn't explain it, they must have known that they were going to pull the plug on the journey. So they must have rigged up something where the heartbeats will still be going on the
That's
on the
what
thing.
I thought.
I don't know.
But
they didn't say it though, did they?
It was the only way to cover their tracks and to keep them from talking is to pull the plug. Yeah. So it never made sense that he gave them that speech at the beginning because this was always the way it was going to end. That's my point of view. I don't feel like this was an accident. This was planned. This was totally
it was
planned.
Yeah, definitely.
Because if they're all fake, then that kind of solves the plot hole at the beginning of them disconnecting from that.
Rennie's correct.
You'll find that's usually right. No, just kidding.
So the plane has turned about and landed.
I love that. I love that design of that plane.
It's actually really very pretty for the time that it came out. I'm like, wow, it's pretty nice.
Again, another fine speech by Hal Holbrook.
Wasn't that them escaping in the plane a minute ago?
No, it was it was landing in the airfield where they've just come from.
Was it?
Before they realized they needed to escape.
They escaped in that plane, but that's them arriving at the secret
secret
facility in the desert somewhere from which they
Hal Holbrook says something wrong, and I don't know if that was supposed to be correct or it was like an outtake and the left compression, or I don't know. He said a word wrong. And he corrected himself. So I don't know if it was genuine or an outtake where they've left it in, but whatever it was good. Hal Holbrook, innit? He's just a fantastic actor. And then this is where they're realizing we're dead. Something's gone wrong. We're dead. We need to get out of here. And then speech continues. And then with his coin or his necklace or whatever it is, tries to do the door. And then overpowers the guard or the.
Take that.
Yeah.
This is where it all starts to get a bit Grand Theft Auto for me.
Yeah. Well put, Brian.
From here on in.
Punch
don't forget
out,
this
steal
was
the vehicle.
This was before Grand Theft Auto.
Was it? Never noticed that.
Yeah, a few years, I think. I may be wrong.
Quite a few.
Yeah. And then there's OJ trying to close the door so that he can take off.
His gloves.
Yeah. Didn't fit him.
I like the unconvincing wheel coming off, which was kind of symbolic for the rest of the film.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to try and land on 2 wheels, but no, obviously not.
Did they run out of petrol as well, or something in the plane?
There was no fuel in the plane.
Right.
Yeah, they get up in the sky and they're like, "Oh crap!"
Yeah.
Didn't think about checking that on the runway. But...
Well, you wouldn't when you were escaping, would you? But there you go. And then they've crashed, and then they distributing the life kit or whatever it's called.
It's really funny, right? Because the cars that they use and the suited, they look like FBI agents. They always used to. That was like a standard dress for them in the 70s when they were portraying.
It was.
It was, wasn't it? Especially the cars as well. If you look at ET, it's the same thing. ET, all the FBI agents look like them, basically. So I don't know.
They play on it in the Matrix as well. It's just why they dress the agents the way that they do it. It's that play on the archetype. But I see this bit of the film. If this were part of a different film, on its own, I kind of like it because what they're doing is they're quite clearly saying this is as close to Mars as you can actually get. So in a sense, the astronauts do have their mission to Mars. They land in the middle of the desert on the red planet. They have to survive against all the odds. They have to land the shuttle precariously. On its own, you can kind of see that that's a relatively clever cinematic device. It's just that we're jumping at this point between the unraveling of the conspiracy and then the uncovering of the conspiracy by the journalist, and then also back to this slightly Planet of the Apes style sequence as well. This is where the film starts jumping and tries to become about 4 different films at once, and this is it to my mind just doesn't really work very well. But I like the individual ideas. It's just when you put them together in the way that they did,
I really like how you put that lost chord. Like that's basically their quote unquote mission to Mars. Very well put.
It's good.
Well, can we just take a moment? Can we just take a moment to appreciate O.J. Simpson's afro? I mean, what a great afro he's got there. It's really cool. Carry on.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
Elliot Gould has got a pretty good one as well.
He has as well, yeah.
Yeah. So during the conference on Mars, where they're talking to the wives that took us out the film, Brubaker says something about holidays, where he went to this place the year before, and his wife goes, "What?" But then Elliot Gould character picks up on it, and he's watching the. Because he's just saying something's not quite right here, like a reporter would.
Well, he's basically saying that because his friend disappeared, so obviously he knows there's something wrong, and plus they tried to kill him, so he knows there's something up.
So
like
this
that
is
little scene just there, just trying to kind of stay normal for the kid and hold it all together.
Yeah,
despite all the chaos and going
reading Dr. Zeus. Yeah,
I can identify with that.
I used to like, wasn't it? Is it Brenda Vicario? What's her name?
Vicario.
Yeah.
I used to like her. When I was.
What's she famous for?
Zorro
Is there
the
one
Gay
thing
Blade.
she was famous? Oh.
She played the Alcalde's wife. That's what I always remember her from.
Yeah.
These scenes I think work really well as well. These are the bits that actually do give flesh to the character of the astronauts. As opposed to the scenes with the astronauts themselves. I thought the scenes with the mother and the son were actually quite effective. It's a shame really that they didn't make a huge amount more of them, but that actually does inject some kind of emotional depth to the film at a period where the film is not really doing very much with that itself. Having conscious I've been quite negative about the film, I will point out the bits that I like. That's a bit that I like.
I do like the bit where the guy climbs the mountain and he looks like he's made it, and then suddenly when he gets to the top there's those helicopters. I thought that was quite nice.
You
after that bit, I thought,
you just knew it couldn't be that easy. It's like I just predicted when they split up. I'm like, well, there's going to be one survivor. We know who it is. These 2 guys are going to get caught. So when he reached the top, I was like, if there's no helicopters, I'm really going to be shocked.
Well, in the old days, you knew who was going to survive. The good-looking one always survives, isn't it? And
oh my God.
I mean, it's true. It's
That's
true
us
all the time, isn't it? So.
Okay. The reporter is speaking to Brubaker's wife about the holiday, and some things I can't quite put my finger on it, but something's wrong. And then Meanwhile, back at the desert, the helicopters.
Yeah, I was really. That's one of the things I like about this movie. They use those helicopters really well because they've got no signs in them; they're just black, and they look. They do look threatening. Those helicopters.
The way
really
they moved was almost like an animal stalking rather than machine.
Yeah.
Well, but didn't it seem like they got too close? Like, if you fly two helicopters like side by side that close, isn't there like a problem with the propellers like possibly getting caught? Or
I don't know.
Apparently in advance because I thought that was interesting. It kind of works and kind of doesn't because they almost personify the helicopters. The helicopters actually use quite human actions when they are visibly searching. They're not just scouring the skies from a long way above. They are down on the ground. They turn to face each other as though sort of communing, and they turn away. They actually have sort of characters, and I'm really torn as to whether that works or whether that's contrived, and I haven't decided yet. But it's a definite device they've used.
I think it's quite clever, personally.
I read some of the trivia, and apparently the pilots and the guy who flew the plane said it was some of the most dangerous flying stunt work they've ever done.
I was going to say, you can't typically fly helicopters that close to each other.
They were really pushing the envelope on that.
The guy who actually died, but 2 months after he filmed it.
Did?
They actually used a shot where the helicopter blows up. They used that in A-Team.
They were a bit cheap looking, weren't they? They were a bit kind of
They probably used it on Airwolf about 17 million times, and I think the Fall Guy used some of the footage as well. So they would have clawed some money back on that. Kelvington in the chat, the camera made them seem much closer than they were.
Okay. Because it just seemed too close for comfort.
Then Kelvington again. Vic Morrow found that out the hard way.
He did. Got his head chopped off, apparently. By a helicopter.
I will say, Kelvington, we would love you to come on one of these one Saturday, my friend. There is an open invite. Okay, so Hal Albrook has found out the plane's crashed, and basically to go looking for them. And this is the bit Ian was saying about the cliffs.
Yeah, that's quite.
There's nowhere to go but up.
Yeah. So Coalfield, Elliot Gould goes to Flat Rock, which is basically a film set, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then he gets shot at.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
And those helicopters, I thought they were quite cool.
The helicopter sequences were excellent.
I thought they were good, yeah.
Yeah, excellent. So he's kind of buried himself under the sand. Dropped his gun.
The gun thing never really went anywhere, did it?
No.
He was searching for his gun at one point and going, "Oh fuck."
Yeah. Then Kellaway goes to see Mrs. Brubaker because obviously they're all friends. We're going to do.
That makes it even worse, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it makes it even worse.
Betrayed his friends. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's OJ. The bit he did was very good. Yeah.
Yeah, but the sad thing is, if he had kept digging in that riverbed, he would have found some water. I'm sure of it. But he was just so desperate. He just, Oh dang!
Sorry.
Moving on.
I did when they were walking out across the desert and they're wearing their bright white outfits. I just thought, well, they're not going to stand out at all, are they?
Yeah, exactly right.
well, they didn't have a choice, did they? They escaped with it on, didn't they? So they didn't.
Yeah, I thought they probably could have rolled in the dirt a bit, though.
Yeah, if you're looking for me, I'm right here.
They did eventually. I suppose.
Brolin hid under the dirt, didn't he? At one point, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He did.
Yeah, they focused on that mound of dirt, and you knew somebody was about to pop out of it.
Yeah.
So OJ is hallucinating, thinking it's birds or gloves.
Yeah.
And then it's the helicopters. and then it's game over. We don't actually know if OJ and the other guy get killed. They get,
of course, they
caught.
do.
I mean, they don't
they
tell
get
you,
killed.
but I assume that they wind up.
Yeah, we assume they do.
Offing them.
Yeah,
They probably killed them in the desert and then buried them.
Yeah,
in the desert, so you'll never be able to find them. So
yeah,
it's probably what they did.
and then the helicopter says we found him, and they go, what direction? And then he goes, look in the other two directions, which I thought was clever.
Yeah.
Caulfield goes back to the wife, asking for more information, and I kind of like their verbal tennis, which was quite good.
It is. Some of it's well written, but as people have pointed out, the script is very, very flawed. So.
The line that
Brian?
he uses over and over, "You're obviously very smart."
Yeah.
I'm like, come on,
Brian, would you like to read? You've not done a comment tonight, Brian. Do you want to do one?
Kelvington in the chat says, Capricorn 2, the search for OJ's killer.
Oh my God.
Well done, Kelvington.
Also,
so
in the 70s, you see what the wife is wearing? That was standard issue for wives in the 70s in movies and TV shows, wasn't it?
It was
standard issue clothes for some reason.
And for women as well.
So the wife says we shot. It was a film set, and we was on set, and they were shooting movies, and he couldn't believe how amazing it all looked and how real it looked. So that was kind of like a big kind of
so on the nose that it was. Did you know, audience, in case you've missed it, this was all fake. And there's actually a line, I think, in the dialogue which says, "I can't believe they make something so fake look so real."
Yes,
I think we all got this point by now. But thank you for.
No, but it wasn't.
Back.
No, but it wasn't for the audience. It was for the character in the film to actually connect with it, because at this moment in time, he didn't have any evidence, or this brought it home to him, didn't it?
Yeah.
With the set, it brought it home to him, and
it went
he realized,
ka-ching.
yeah. So I mean, it wasn't really dropped to you anyway.
You can do ka-ching without verbalizing that. Like, you have some other films where the character has a moment like this, where you will see, so for instance, there'll be a very slow panning into the face or something, or there'll be an expression. You can do it quite subtly. This is sort of sledgehammer to the face kind of subtlety. And
yeah, because she could have, he could have seen the film. He could have seen the film, and then there's thousands of ways they could have done that, but they've chose this way, which, as I said, sometimes when you've got a director and a writer, sometimes they kind of miss things in their own writing, don't they? So,
but Peter Hyams wrote it and directed it.
That's what I'm saying. So sometimes maybe I mean. Was there any other credits on the screenplay? Or was it just him?
Him, written and directed.
Yeah, you should really have another script writer to point out things and stuff.
Kind
anyway.
of, yeah. This is the Mega Geek on set shooting Rebecca Gold.
Yeah, right.
Rebecca Gold does horseback.
That was his kids, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then the Sam Watson character climbs up the cliff face, talking about cats.
Yeah, he just goes mental climbing that hill.
That's a joke. It's an old joke, which it's a long one, so I won't do the whole thing. But the basic idea is about joke construction. So there's a guy, he calls someone up and says, your cat's got on the roof and it fell off and died. And he says, well, you don't break it to me like that. That's just cruel. You have to long it out a bit. Well, how would you want me to tell it then? So, well, you start by saying, you call me once and say the cat's up on the roof, we can't get it down. And then you call me a few days later and say, well, okay, the cat's jumped on a tree and the fire brigade are here. And then you call me later and say, yeah, I'm really sorry, mate, but the cat's fallen off the tree and has now died. You break it to me slowly. And so the guy on the other end of the phone says, oh, okay, well, I've got some more news for you. So what's that then? He says, well, your mother's on the roof and we can't get it down. And then the implication being that you're breaking the story to him slowly that his mother has just died as well. But it's a relatively old joke that he's telling as he's climbing up this cliff, which I'm surprised to hear in this context.
Mark Hamill actually told that joke on stage just a few years ago after the Force Awakens. Yeah,
but I can see what Peter Hyams was trying to do. He was trying to do a duel with these helicopters, because when you look at the film Duel, directed by Spielberg, he wanted the truck to be a certain way, to look greasy and slimy, and that was the main. And I guess Peter was trying to do this with the two helicopters, which I thought was quite clever, to tell you the truth, because it could have been could have been two different helicopters, but these helicopters look like, you know, they were characters and they meant business. So I kind of like that in the film.
They each had a flare, which when they got caught, they released. And this kind of took me out of the film a little bit, because if they'd been kind of walking for days...
But too close, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If this had been within 2-3 hours, fair enough, I could accept. But looking at the condition of their... the condition of them and how bad OJ was, it must have been 3-4 days. So didn't need this, but that's just me. We've got one. Which direction was he going in? Try the other direction.
And deliberate picture next to him.
Yeah.
Right there, yeah. This guy, just putting into the audience that this guy's he's filth. He used to be friends, and now he's trying to kill one of his friends.
Yeah,
he's filth. Yeah. This is one of my favorite scenes
from Charlie's Angels.
I laughed so much when I first saw this film a long time ago, when this confrontation happened. I thought it was very funny.
Well, and what was the point, like, of him bailing him out of jail just to fire him?
I don't know. I can't remember the context.
He hadn't got to that stage yet.
He gets arrested later, I think, doesn't he?
Oh, okay.
The reason he bails him out,
yes.
Yeah, the reason he bails him out is so he doesn't embarrass the paper. He says,
yeah.
But we've not got to that stage yet. He's kind of going with his because he does I've got 48 hours, and he goes, I've seen this film too. It's 24.
Yeah. 4 hours, yeah.
There's some really nice. Go on.
That was a bit meta for me, which you didn't tend to get back then. I didn't like this bit at all. I thought he was so fucking annoying. I just wanted the Elite Ghoul to punch him in the throat.
Yeah,
I know. I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, I
it was really funny.
Same here. Some really fast, kind of quippy, quippy tennis, which I quite like.
It's a pain in the ass.
Stitch that, Bosley.
They do this in almost every film where journalists feature, though. In the first place, so this speech is designed to give backstory to a character who hasn't had this backstory given to him throughout the previous hour of the film, which is annoying anyway. But otherwise, journalists are very often portrayed as having this really fast-paced, quippy way of talking to each other. They're all wisecracking. They're all really witty. I am a journalist. I can confirm to you that no, this is not true. Most journalists are boring as hell, and you do not have these kind of conversations.
You're obviously the exception to the rule, though. So, Elliot Gould is in his apartment, and there's a scene where he goes to his cabinet, where his bathroom cabinet, and there's nothing in it other than, I don't know, toothpaste. And then the feds turn up, arrest him.
He looks like a fed.
Very quick. There's a really annoying bit of dialogue here. He says, "We've got a what? No, why are you here? We've got a warrant. A warrant for what? No. He says, we're here to search your house." And then he says, "We've got a warrant." And he says, "A warrant for what?" But he's just told you he's here to search your house. That's what he's got the warrant for. That really annoyed me. I don't know why. It was a really small bit of dialogue, but
I think he was wondering what they were suspicious of. They just didn't ask that properly.
Yeah. So we go back to the cabinet, which we saw 2 seconds earlier as having nothing in it, and then all of a sudden, some cocaine's coming out. So yeah,
it's a bit of a heavy Fed presence for just a few grams of Charlie.
Chuck's bust.
And then Bosley comes to save face and pays bail and fire him, basically.
But that's the thing, right? Are you really saving face if you bailed him out just to fire him? Because it's like, oh, well, everything's fine. Oh, wait, he's no longer here. Maybe it's not.
Are you sure it wasn't Karen Black that was responsible for getting him out of jail?
No, because
no, it was Bosley.
The Bosley guy went there just to make a point.
Yeah, positive. Yeah. And then
but she picks him up, doesn't she? Does she not pick him up?
I think he calls her for help.
Yeah. And then Karen Black, massive at the time, turns up.
Love the cigarette hanging out of his mouth.
Man, like the whole movie, it just kind of hangs there, you know?
Lou Grade must have made some serious phone calls.
But the thing, as I said, they still make movies like that today, right? But in those, that you can see the stars of those days. That's those, they tried to get the stars of those days. So,
Yeah. Brubaker is still being chased by the helicopter, goes into a cave, and then there's a rattlesnake, and then he has to kill it and eat it.
Anyone played the third Metal Gear Solid game, Snake Eater? Because they do this a lot, and it's not a big deal in that game, but apparently in this film it's a very big deal. I wasn't really sure what the point of this sequence was, though, I have to say. It did seem a bit sort of unnecessary, over the top. We already know the kind of the physical plight that he's in. And this is a hard jump as well from the film noir style investigation of the journalist to gritty sort of in a cave eating snakes. And I wasn't really sure.
Where did he get the catch up from? Where did he get the catch up from? That snake?
I
think
like it just
snake was addicted to it by the look of it.
Just so you know, if you're in that close to a rattlesnake, he probably would have bit you like 4 different times in the time that he was sitting there teasing it, playing cat and mouse with it. Rattlesnakes are pretty vicious.
On 2 hours.
Just saying.
But Rennie, he's the hero.
We're English.
Man.
We don't know this.
He's the hero. He's the hero. Of course, he's going to survive a rattlesnake. Come on, and he's got catch up for the food as well. Look at that. Amazing.
I thought it was a good way of showing how he managed to sustain himself for longer. So he obviously didn't collapse. It had a little bit of nourishment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The Karen Black character discussed with Elliot Gould about this closed army base near the launch site. So he turns up in the Datsun. Nice car that was. Beautiful. And then he turns up, empty studio, sees some stuff.
Yeah. Good stuff.
I was almost annoyed at this scene because I just thought, surely even the most incompetent criminal knows the basics about cleaning up a crime scene.
Yeah.
But then I remembered how actual Watergate worked. And no, actually, this makes complete sense because the government is incredibly incompetent at covering up its own crimes. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I thought they'd have a lot more security around as well. Like people just standing around making sure no one comes, poking around to,
like nobody should know this exists, right? And nobody should be able to access it so easily.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, there are some generally bad plot holes in the script, but generally, as I said, it's an enjoyable romp. That's basically what it is. If you dig too deep into it, the whole thing falls apart. But that's the beauty of this movie. We know it has a lot of flaws in it, but as I said, for me, I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Of its time, as we said. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. I remember watching this as a kid and thoroughly enjoying it.
Yeah.
But there's a kind of an interesting point there about what actually, because obviously we've mentioned a number of different plot holes, and there's been a few times where people have said, okay, this particular part took me out of the film, and this particular part maybe didn't. So surely a lot of that is contingent on how much is taking you out of the film and how far away from the film you are being taken. The more plot holes surely you see in the film, the further out of the film you're being taken, and the more often you're being taken out of the film, and that must surely impact on your overall view of the film. If you ignore all of these things, then okay, you can.
No.
You're not ignoring everything.
There's and I totally agree with you. I think there's a level, right? The film has a lot of plot holes in it, and a lot of things that don't make any sense. Rennie's pointed out some, you've pointed out some, but it all depends on how the film's constructed and how much you personally get out the film and how you personally enjoyed the film. And I understand what you're saying. I understand what Rennie's saying. But for me, these plot holes, I knew they existed, but I still enjoyed the stupidness of the film. Elliot Gould's dialogue, Kojak, everyone.
I get that. I'll just point out that the same argument was used in defense of The Last Jedi, for instance.
No,
that was different.
Listen, if I may, Lost Chord is new to the channel, so we'll let him off with that. We will let him off.
Last Jedi
I'm
was
not-
a sequel, though. Was a sequel.
Oh,
I'm not defending The Last
Oh.
Jedi in any respect. I'm
Oh.
simply saying that the same argument was used in its defense. That's all I was pointing out.
I think a lot
No, but-
depends on where you were and what age you are sometimes, your knowledge level when you saw a film. For example, I love the Saint film with Val Kilmer, and yeah, I know it's a complete pile of horse muck.
Yeah.
But I watched it at a time where I didn't have the kind of knowledge that I have now, and I liked it for a lot of different reasons. But
No.
I think you see things differently. It's hard to look at something a bit more objectively, especially if it's something you've kind of kept watching over.
I will say, for everything that pulls you out of the movie, there's something that can really pull you back in.
But
Telly Savalas.
with Last Jedi, right? They literally destroyed characters that was beloved by millions. And that's the big difference between that movie and this one. These characters are new. You know, we have to just accept them. But to destroy Luke,
and this
I
is
agree completely about
that's
that.
an interesting plot or an interesting point you bring up, Ian. I didn't find myself invested in
I know you didn't.
any of these characters. You know,
you're right.
like maybe Elliot Gould kind of sort of, because you kind of believed in, you know, what he was trying to do, and he was trying to do the right thing, and that was kind of cool. But there were really no other characters. Like, I really wasn't invested in the astronauts so much. Yes, it was the wrong thing to do, how they got shafted, and I felt bad for them, but I really wasn't invested in them.
But it all depends, doesn't it? It all depends on the kind of kind of entertainment that you're into and stuff like that. And quite frankly, I love conversations like this. I find it fascinating that people don't find something good, people find something good, and with that, I can totally say that I respect everyone's views and I understand that everyone's different.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter as long as you have the conversation.
I did.
100%.
Absolutely.
I have to say just very quickly, because it is a really important thing. I was not in any way defending The Last Jedi. I never would, because it's that film
always goes back to Last Jedi.
Absolutely disgusting. All I was saying is that if you are making the argument that, okay, if you ignore plot holes and you go along for the ride, that I have heard that argument made in defense of that film is the only thing I was saying. But
that is the only way you can enjoy The Last Jedi, though. That is the only way.
I tried that and I couldn't do it either. But and the
fact that you have to have a lobotomy as well. You know what?
It's all right to like something,
I did like the quippy dialogue here saying how much to hire a plane. He goes $25, and he goes, that'll be $100. You just said 25. Well, you obviously can afford it. Blah blah blah. It was really good verbal tennis again.
I hated it. Absolutely hated it.
Really, I love the smart ass.
Punch him. It was as if it was saying, "Look, here's Telly Savalas in our film." He just fucking stuck it like a sore thumb. I thought he was awful.
But Brian, that's exactly what they were saying, because he's just a guest star, and in the beginning you have his name and it's in a square, isn't it? You know, I
almost felt like with Telly Savalas and with Bosley, I felt as if they were giving them a bit more to do than if it had just been some other actor.
Remember, these were massive names back then, and this is Lou Grade calling in or making favors, making phone calls. And yes, Tyrone, $125 was the final price.
Yeah. He's like, since you agreed to 100 so easily, make it 125.
Yeah.
What the hell?
But that was the tone of movies in those days, Brian. It was to get as many stars in it, especially Lou Grade. He would go out of his way just to get big stars in there for 5 seconds. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was his logic.
That can also be really important when it comes to securing funding for a film, though, as well. So there is obviously there's the star power which can bring in an audience, but there's also the star power which can actually encourage studios and other financiers to back the film. You can say, well, we've got X, Y, Z in the film, and look what they've done recently. So maybe you should.
Like the Steve McQueen in The Great Escape type syndrome. You know, they just give him too much, and he's the hero. He makes it. Everyone else fucked.
No, Steve McQueen doesn't make it in The Great Escape. He gets captured.
Does he?
I can't remember.
Yeah, Steve McQueen gets captured, and he gets put back into the cooler, and he starts bouncing the ball. That's how his character ended up.
I can't remember. I just remember. But the last thing I can remember was so long ago. It was Eddie Izzard talking about it and saying everyone else is dead, but Steve McQueen makes it out.
Yeah. Steve McQueen doesn't get killed. He gets taken back to the camp, but he doesn't escape. He doesn't make it. Right, okay. He tries to drive his bike over the thing, doesn't he? And he gets caught in the thing, and they just take him back to the camp. But he's right. Everybody else gets killed who gets caught, but he doesn't. He doesn't get killed. He gets just taken back to the camp. He's right. Yeah.
The previous night, Brubaker was caught in a sandstorm and he kind of just collapsed. And then he wakes up in the morning and there's a scorpion. So then he gets up and then literally 50 yards away from an abandoned gasoline station.
Yeah.
So we're looking for get your head out the way. I can't see.
Brilliant.
They're doing a state funeral, aren't they, for the astronauts? Brubaker's trying to find some money or trying to make a phone call, taking money to make the phone call.
Call collect. Yeah. Should have done.
So follow those helicopters.
Yeah.
So he finds some money in the Coke machine, and we're not talking about the Bolivian version of it.
It's not product placement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he rings his wife, and what would you know? God!
Yeah. In those days, literally had to have.
The Omen, that was in the back of the car.
It was, it was. And there's those helicopters, which is, as I said, I really like the idea of the helicopters.
Fantastic.
They're really good.
So they've landed at the gasoline station, petrol station, and he's just about to twat them with the Jimmy. And then he hits one and then he runs off. And he's like, oh, fuck, there's a plane.
He's like, hurry up. Come on, let's
Get
go.
on the plane. Get on the
plane.
He ran out and suddenly there's a plane picking me up. What the hell?
Yeah.
It's a good job he left that snake behind. Otherwise, we could have had like a prelude to Samuel L. Jackson's very famous line. But this sequence kind of reminded me of a couple of things because I wonder how influential actually this has been, because this put me in mind partly of the asteroid chase in Empire Strikes Back, but also of Independence Day, the bit where he's going through the canyon.
Oh,
And of course, in Independence Day, he jettisons the parachute to blind the alien and crashes. And this, of course, they jettison the whatever it is that cop spray
Very good.
to blind
Very
helicopters.
Good,
But I kind of wonder if that was actually quite an influential scene. Although I don't know what the hell the pilots of the helicopters are trying to do, just tapping the top of the airplane occasionally.
Yeah, that's a bit strange.
They're trying to push it down. They're trying to push it down.
Independence Day as well. Of course, there was the guy with the red crop dusting plane. So
there's a big crop duster plays a big part in that film.
Yeah.
It's been done a lot of times though. Even in the Hitchcock film, they used the crop dusting thing. That scene there was a scene in A-Team, and they have this shot where the plane blows up and then it falls, and then they have the wreckage and people are crawling out of the helicopter.
Yeah.
And they were still alive after this.
I did wonder why the helicopters didn't like fly above the smoke trail. You know, they could have just
go up.
Yeah,
That's not difficult.
So the threat has been eliminated. Top trivia here from the Kelvington: the downdraft should have crashed the biplane.
Or interfered with it at least, yeah.
Yeah, but you had Kojak driving it. Kojak was
when he says biplane, we're not referring to sexuality, are we?
No.
Yeah.
Plus, Kojak's head is very aerodynamic, so
that's right. That's right.
Okay, so the actual president himself is at the funeral, doing a fine speech. There they go.
The Men of Capricorn one.
He uses the word limitedness at one point, which is really just not euphonious at all.
Oh, I didn't pick up on that. Well done, well spotted.
Oh, he's good, isn't he?
Of course, in this day and age, we can't help watch films like this now. This is what wokeness has done to me. And I saw where the names back then.
If you set him off.
If you go back a slide, just go back a slide a sec.
Okay, bear with me. Go, Matthew.
I was just looking at the order the names are in. So we've got like Brubaker, which is Brolin's character, and then we've got Willis, is the other white guy. And at the bottom, we've got the black guy, because he's at the bottom because he's black. So you'd get all the SJWs like screeching about it just for that alone. I think just for that little arrangement right there. So
then it's got the Men of Capricorn one. not the people.
Don't even go there.
The
patriarchy of Capricorn, what it should say. This is what wokeness has done to me now. I'm picking this crap out everywhere, even though it's not even. I'm seeing things that aren't there. It's terrible. Anyway, thank you.
Need a Twitter detox.
Yeah.
I just ignore all that stuff now. I refuse to make something like that spoil my enjoyment of watching other stuff. I really do.
So it shouldn't.
I ignore it all. Yeah.
And then the
I love this
Datsun
scene.
turns up.
Yeah.
This is the bit where I thought my computer was overheating.
Yeah.
Welcome to my world.
But I wanted.
What's going on with it?
Yeah, but I so wanted him to run into the arms of his wife, and then all and a more of chaos at the ending. But they cut it when he didn't even reach to them. He was just they just stopped it, and I was like,
They should have had it so his wife and kids sort of like should have met him.
Yeah,
for an extra 30 seconds. Yeah,
it would have been nice to hear the president go, "Oh shit."
Yeah, no,
shit.
No,
yeah,
the president didn't know about it. The president didn't know about it, though, did he? He didn't know about it.
I feel like he did. I feel like he's the one that orchestrated everything.
I thought that at the start when he wasn't at the.
Yes, I thought that.
Yeah,
what's going on here? Why isn't the president there?
Yeah. It's all his idea, in my opinion.
Perhaps it could have been.
And then
that's when he soiled himself.
Shit.
I suppose there's no point in him running, is there? He's got nowhere to go.
No, he's got nowhere to go.
Slow motion, and then it goes freeze frame. So on 2 hours 15.
There's Elliot Gould's facial expression there, thinking about his wages.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice to at least see
Entertainment.
Would have been nice to at least see him and his wife like embrace or something, and I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
They just left it. I mean,
yeah, they could have shown that definitely. Although it kind of is a bit, it is kind of poignant that bit still, admittedly. But I would have preferred him actually, being embracing because the crap he's been through. It's like I think the character deserves that much.
I think Kelvington's watched the special edition. The sniper's got him at the end.
Oh my god! That was the after credit sequence. Shit, I know I should have kept watching.
Oh my god!
That actually, unironically, would have made for a much stronger ending to the film.
It would. Kelvington, with thinking like that, you really do need to come on one of these one Saturday. So
he wouldn't have gotten close, would he? Because the security surrounding the president and all that, he would never have gotten that close, would he?
No.
Well, perhaps he was in an office block from 200 yards away. I don't know.
Mind you, though, the cameras did turn around and see him running towards. So how are they going to, what they're going to do? Get rid of all the live stuff on the cameras? They can't, can they? So they were screwed.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So
Kennedy, though, roads are closed for about 10 miles around wherever. The
exactly.
Yeah.
It should have been the plane that came in and landed.
That would have been.
That would have been
He's
great.
still hanging off the wing. He's still hanging off the wing with his fingers. Yeah.
Right, that's the end of the slides, boys and girls. So I will just ask a sentence or a paragraph off each of you, and then we will say farewell. So, Brian, thoughts to sum up?
Absolutely. I loved the first hour or so, and I was wondering why have I not heard about this film? This is fantastic. And then it just did I kind of looked at Departed in the last 40 odd minutes and fell to bits. And it really, I thought it was a real shame because I was definitely really enjoying it, and it just dissipated into total and utter farce for me. Yeah. So as I said before, wasted opportunity, I think.
Well, not bad for $5 million, but Rennie?
Yeah, I mean, there was some suspense and all that to it, but I don't know, a lot of it was too predictable for me. Like, you could tell who was going to be the sole survivor out of the astronauts.
The white guy.
It just, well, of course, but like, also I don't know, it just so much took me out of it. And then like, what was the whole point of trying to convince these guys to go through with it if they were going to kill him like the whole time? That was just awful. Why not just kill him from the start instead of holding him prisoner and all that stuff? I don't know. It just felt like it was kind of pointless. That's just me.
As I said, maybe the heat shield
Yeah, they didn't know. They didn't know his shield was gonna. They didn't know the thing was gonna blow up.
Yeah.
So.
Well, but that's the thing. I think that proves that was the plan the whole time. There was no real shuttle or whatever coming back to the Earth's surface, because they even had the fake heartbeats that flatlined. So this was the plan the whole time, in my opinion.
Okay.
And they didn't even show the rocket or the shuttle re-entering the Earth's surface. So this was the plan.
Swappers.
I'm always against remakes and reboots and things, but I think this movie would make a very good, more updated story today, with knowing what we know about other planets and astronomy and technology being as advanced as it is now and stuff. It could really make quite a dynamic movie with, not on the edge of your seat kind of Apollo 13 nature to it. But obviously, with the conspiracy angle, where did they or didn't they go on the mission and all that as well. But for its time, and I know it's very much of its time and stuff, and it's a classic, I suppose, to a lot of people. Obviously, it shouldn't be remade, but I think it's definitely grounds for an update of sorts, if you like. It could be completely
I'd agree with that.
Story, but not a direct remake or reboot. But it could be used as the seeds for a similar kind of film. What with everything we have today, I think they could make something really good based around
the same issues now.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, absolutely. And they could add so much to it as well. With like kind of with maybe alien artifacts and things like that in there as well as an extra level. I think it could work really well. As it was,
I think they are going to remake it. I think.
Oh God, it wouldn't surprise me. But if they do remake it, they
female
can't
captain
handle it. They can't remake anything these days without it going woke. So, obviously maybe leave it like 5 years or something, and we'll see how the land lies. But its potential is there with the people that could handle it correctly.
Yeah. Ian, thoughts?
I enjoyed this film when I first saw it, and there is a lot of faults in the plots, but the faults are not too big to not to take you out. For me, it didn't take me out of it at all. As I said, all those things did occur to me when I was watching it. The stuff that Rennie said about the heartbeats and how did they get out the capsule and all that stuff. But still, though, I found it very entertaining personally, and even though it goes off, as Brian says, wildly towards the ending, I still was invested in the stupidness that was happening and just enjoyed the ride, basically. When Telly Savalas turned up, I thought that was funny. When Bosley turned up, I thought he was hilarious personally. And even though Lost Chord said that no journalist is like that, but movie journalists are like that. Look at Fletch. Look at
they're all like that.
They're all like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but I enjoyed this film immensely, and that's that really.
Lost Chord, thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with Brian. I think so. The premise is a really good one. You combine the Watergate paranoia with moon landing conspiracy theorists, and you really play on that kind of heightened paranoia and the complete collapse in trust in government institutions that we saw in the mid to late 1970s. If you'd stuck with that, if you'd run with that as a long, slow, careful, methodical unraveling of a conspiracy in the manner of All the President's Men, then it could have been a good film. But it doesn't have the confidence in its own ability to tell a long, slow story, and by implication it doesn't have the confidence in the audience to stick with the film of that kind. So they have to throw in action sequences, they have to throw in massive huge set pieces, they have to throw in car chases and plane chases, and try and throw in innumerable other genre tropes where really the film could have done with being a simple, but I say simple, but a straightforward conspiracy story, and the unraveling, the discovery of the conspiracy, the unraveling of that conspiracy. So if I were rewriting it, I would keep probably most of the first hour. I probably would have had it as the plan in the first place to kill the astronauts, and probably would have killed them off, and then make the main character the journalist on discovering this particular hoax. And then that creates a much more, I think, consistent and certainly less jarring overall product. So I love the idea. I really wanted to enjoy the film. I think the first hour had merits, but from that point onwards, I think it does devolve into farce, really. And there are too many plot holes for me to enjoy it. But accepting the point, of course, that if you do try to overlook these things, then there is stuff to enjoy in the film. I just think no. After the first hour, it's contradictory. It undermines itself.
Wow.
On which happy note?
Yes. Okay. So on which happy note, I will thank the chat. It's usually the same peeps every Saturday. So again, boys and girls, it truly is appreciated that you spend a couple of hours with us on Saturday. So I thank you very, very much. I will thank the guests. Swappers, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you to the chat, and great chatting to everyone again tonight.
Cheers, Brian.
Thanks, Brune. Thanks, chat. Thanks, Swappers, Rennie, Ian, and Lost Chord. Great to have you aboard this week.
Yes, fantastic. Rennie, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown and Brian, Matt, Ian. I'm sorry. I know we typically agree to disagree on this one.
Fighting talk.
And then, Lost Chord, it was great to meet you.
Likewise.
Thank you, Ian.
That's all right. No worries. As I said, I love it when
we
people
liked it, didn't we?
Yeah, I liked it. But as I said, I this is the thing I love about movies is that everyone has a different opinion on, especially movies that I like, and I think it's great personally. A lot of people would be insulted or get really angry or and all that rubbish, but not for me. I've never ever have, But I think it's great to hear other people's opinions because the person that has another opinion of the film, they might be right and they might spot something that you never spotted. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's great to learn off other people, and also it's great to hear other people's opinions because that's what filmmaking and fandom is all about. Personally,
instead of shutting everyone down, that's what.
Or calling people man babies that disagree with you.
Yeah.
So that's what I really love about you guys. Like we can all have different opinions, but at the end of the day, we still get along just fine.
It's different strokes for different folks. Isn't it?
Yeah.
So okay.
To each his own.
I could take that comment in places it does not deserve to go in, so I won't.
Yes.
But... Please don't.
That'll be for another time. And last, but by no means least, new to the channel, the most well-spoken man on YouTube on a Saturday night. It's the fantastic Lost Chord. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Just I don't want to get all soppy, but honestly, this has been the most enjoyable 2.5 hours I've spent on anything for a very long time. And I think genuinely for ages. And what you do on the channel, we only got in touch last week was it? But this has provided me just in a week hours of entertainment while I'm slogging through boring work stuff. This is so much fun, and what you do here is great, and it's been fantastic to meet everyone. And yeah, anytime you want somebody else to come on and be both negative and insufferably posh, I am always available. So,
I would just say to everybody in the chat, check out the Little Platoon podcast. He's doing his Picard thing at the moment, but there are some genuinely good, well-read and well-spoken videos. I think the boy will go far. I think he's got a very, very promising. Because I'm common as muck. I think he's got a very, very promising YouTube career. If not, I see the potential in him being better than the Critical Drinker.
Oh, that's far too kind, but I'll take it. Thank you.
But that's just me. I think you may go far, my friend. So genuine pleasure to have you on the team. And I think I think genuinely we have got the finest YouTube panel and chat anywhere on YouTube on a Saturday. So thank you, my friend. I think that is it, boys and girls. I think we are going to try and give the Book of Boba, or is it Boba Fett, one more go.
Oh no!
Oh, for fuck's sake!
I don't know what you're complaining about. I really love the Hot Wheels speeder bike thing. That was.
I take it. Brown, you have to watch it. You have to watch it this time because last time me and Brian, everybody was like, "What? You didn't watch it, Brown?"
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, this
Yeah.
is when I stopped watching the show." It's like, what what?
There are so many depths left to plunder. You can't ignore that. Yeah,
exactly.
I take it you're Lost Chord. I take it you want to come on Wednesday night then.
Oh, absolutely. If you'll have me,
Okay.
I'll definitely do
Yeah,
it.
definitely. Okay, so not Brian Young has put Lost Chord's channel in the chat. I strongly suggest you check his channel out and subscribe because it's really, really good. So we will be back Wednesday. I promise to watch chapter 3 of Boba Fett.
That's going to be chapter 4, dude.
And I will watch because I've got to catch up with number 3, haven't I?
Yes.
I will.
But you have to watch 4.
I will take one for the team and watch Boba Fett does Quadrophenia. So that's it, boys and girls. I'm trying to pad it out to 2 hours 30. Seems a nice.
It's only 40
round.
seconds left. We can do it.
Seems. It seems a nice round figure to bail out on, but I truly have got nothing else to say other than see you
Peace.
Wednesday. Peace and love. Take care. Bloody, bloody, blah. Yes. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care. Bye. 8, 7, 6.
Eat a bag of dicks.
4. Eat two bags of dicks. Bye.